If the customer isn't happy, we're going to go work on that. It's our problem, we'll fix it. If it's their problem, we'll make it ours. One thing that I hear from people is, can't seem to get our foot in the door anymore, anywhere. Every sales tactic that people have used to get in front of other folks is just that, a tactic. It's never been a natural thing.
For me, it's a network base, right? Like I'm talking to people on our level, CEO, CFO, CIO, first of all, none of them want to be bought.
See, my favorite thing was when people would say, it was really hard for us to make this decision, but we're not going to go with your company.
It's not their problem, it's our problem. Fix it.
Right.
And everyone else just hangs it up.
And for Christmas, one of my favorite things to do was to bake or cook, and I would feed all my account base. I spent all of December feeding people food and feeding and saying like, thank you for this past year. The right thing will lead someone down the path, the influence that you provide. Not everybody is meant to do business with you. Not everybody will like your flavor. Nobody cares.
There's a strong chance you're not that far off from winning in business and at the game of life. It just takes one idea, but you gotta have unwavering belief and burning desire. If you can couple that with a lockdown strategy that's fueled by heart, hustle, and muscle, you got a shot at winning. There's one thing that all champions have in common. They get shit done. So welcome to the Get Shit Done experience. Well, we are back again. You are in studio. This is the Get Shit Done experience, also known as the GSDX podcast. I'm here today with this is like a powerhouse, man. The studio is already on fire. We've been talking. The thing's been rolling. I just did an intro. I probably should have just started from the conversation we were having before that. It is on the recording, so maybe we'll just start it from there. But I don't know. We'll do the intro. But this is kind of, I don't know, a bucket list thing. All right. First off, I've got Tim Ward in here, our CEO, our founder of all three brands, who is the visionary behind all of this, and thank you for buying these toys for me. This is it's close to Christmas. Yeah. And Tim bought all these nice toys for me. Thank you. So, and you're also a little bit crazy for allowing me to be on a microphone on a weekly basis.
Yeah, that's the best.
So thank you, Tim.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Now, this is on camera and on recording, so you can't say that I never said thank you. The one and only time you've
said thank you.
Exactly.
You make sure to record it.
Exactly. Right. Well, Christmas is coming up, so I'm trying to
loop it.
Is this episode 200? Is that?
Exactly.
Minus 0.
And that voice that you just heard is the one and only sales rebel, the CEO and founder of the Sales Rebellion, Mr. Dale Dupree. Let's go.
Yeah.
Let's go from the mountains of Tennessee all the way to the flatlands of Illinois. And we are in studio making it happen. So, Dale, I just want to start off by saying that, I've been an admirer of your content, and I just want to give a little bit of a story as to how we met. And this is the power of social media if you use it properly. So I'm scrolling through. I see a podcast clip from you. This is about 6 years ago. And it wasn't on video. It was one of those clips where it's like the audio clip and just like the EKG thing is going up and down. It's your voice speaking. I'm like, this is pretty badass. I haven't heard a business podcast like this. And you were talking like eloquent, powerful, energetic. I don't know who your co-host was, but he was kind of teeing you up and you made like a really solid point. And at that moment, I went, I should be doing a podcast. This is really cool. So unknown secret, I'm putting this out there. You are very much an inspiration to my saying, hey, I want to do a podcast.
Sick.
So thank you for that.
That's pretty cool.
I then heard that. I sent you a DM immediately after I heard that clip. And I had looked at your profile first. I'm like, this dude's got 70,000 followers. He's making he's doing some pretty big things. Now 90,000, but 70,000 at the time. He's doing big things. He's not going to respond. Dude, you responded in 3 minutes on DM. And then we had a conversation. And you were like, hey, anything you need, let me know. I'm happy to help you out. Thanks for supporting me. That was pretty cool. So my question to you is, when did you get that idea that you needed to become a brand, not just a powerhouse salesperson?
I actually decided on that 2 years into my sales career.
Really?
And the reason that I did it was my dad. I spent 2 years under his mentorship selling, going door to door 2007 to 2009, basically. You were just talking about 2008 a second ago, like the worst time to be in business, basically. And imagine being in copier sales, right? Of all things.
Nobody's buying that then.
Nobody thinks about that side of sales. Like, you tell somebody, I was in sales, right? They think that in their mind, I think most people go to like cars, maybe even like mortgages and some, or insurance in some people's minds. But you tell them copiers, a lot of people go like, what? You do what?
Yeah.
I think I've seen one of those in my mom's office once.
I thought those just came with the office building.
Right? and then you have to explain to them like, yeah, your mom she's really mean. She used to kick me out of her office all the time as soon as I told her I sold copiers, right? So in that 2-year stretch, I think what I figured out the most from my father being my mentor and ultimately the guy that gave me my legs in the copier space, I worked for him for just about 4 years before he sold his firm. And I went to the next firm through acquisition and really sprouted, if you will, at that point. Although I'll never forget those days with my dad. Absolutely phenomenal. The learning, the experience. Imagine like taking a Ford Explorer because we had to sell the van in 2008, right? 9, because we're out of money. And taking a Ford Explorer and hooking it up to a trailer and pushing 2 copy machines back and strapping the van and your dad's with you. It's you and your dad. And you do this like
just doing
8 times a week, right? Me and dad doing guy stuff. We just strap these copiers in, bro.
Yeah, new segment on the Get Shit Done experience. Guy stuff.
The nostalgia of that alone was a driver for me to say, oh, if people could see this story of like what's actually happening in my life, I think they would feel differently about what we do. That was actually the catalyst. That I started to think, why don't we talk about this more? Why don't we show people behind the scenes like the hard work that we put in?
So in 2008, you were like, screw commoditized content. I'm going documentary style.
Straight up.
Was that the commercial?
The commercial, which one did you see though? Which one?
The one where you were in the office and then you were like, this thing sucks. And they got the film over it. And then you're like, does this work? And the guy was next to you with his coffee. It was like epic.
There's always savings, but it's about way more than savings alone. Total Technology Solutions Group redefines managed print services. Excellence is the minimum standard. TTSG is a true managed print service provider, deeply understanding your technology and business goals. Your business is unique. Our solutions are tailored to your current and future business goals. Our customer-first approach empowers and delights. TTSG can ensure your technology environment will scale as your business does. So as you navigate business and constant change, partner with TTSG for premium advisement and seamless implementation of your technology goals. We set the bar high. Your people deserve it. Peace of mind. Powerful innovation. TTSG.com. It's like it's almost like a Vines video.
Do I do an exorcism in that one?
Yeah.
So that was 2000. That was
it's the exorcism.
That was 2012.
Yeah.
That's
hilarious.
The coffee.
Yeah.
My brother is in that video and he stares right at the camera. And he did it so many times that finally the guy directing, like shooting the whole video was like, it just doesn't matter anymore.
You gotta listen. We've asked you to stop breaking the fourth wall like 6 times, but now we're just just play into it. Just roll into it.
He doesn't listen, so we're just gonna play it. But it was like perfect.
Ricky Bobby, I don't know what to do with my hands.
Y'all watch the video. If you're listening, watch the video. Go to YouTube, type in Dale Dupree Copier Warrior. You'll find it. There's 2 that I left on YouTube that you can find. I probably shot about 6 to 10.
You did?
In total. So some of them are like gone.
Yeah.
And or like I still have them in the archives. Maybe
you got to rip them out every once in a while.
I thought that was hilarious.
I had one where I was dressed up like a Jedi, like in a robe and the whole night. And like walked out and everyone's like, why won't it work? And like
Obi-Wan Dupree.
Bro, there's this like whole build up of like grabbing the lightsaber, like a shot of that. And then back to the like ruffled feathers and this sucks. And then shoots back over and I'm like putting the hood up and and then I was like walking like all stoic and everyone's like, oh, thank God the Jedi war, there was a whole thing to it. The music was perfect. And then everything just stops and I stand in front of it and I like wave my hand over it and go, you will unjam. Right. And nothing happens. Just kind of stand there for a second and do it again. You will work. Right. Nothing happened. And then I'm like, the hell, and pushing the button and then the camera turns off and it's like, well, even if you buy from him, they still suck.
Yeah.
I loved that thought though. In general, that was the whole point of starting the brand, was to tell people like, we don't like them either. You know,
they're a commodity.
They suck.
They suck.
Yeah.
But we understand ultimately why it's important to have.
It's a necessity.
Yeah. But it's trying to find the ones that don't suck as much.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that too. I mean, for sure. When I started selling Canon, shout out to Canon.
Yeah.
Sorry, I know that's probably like the enemy. And
also Kyocera.
What's up, my guys? What's up, my guys? They pay me to do stuff like this. What's up, Canon? Checking the bank account right now. Where y'all at?
It's going to be awesome when I do like a female voiceover where you're saying Canon and it says Kyocera.
So my rep down in Florida, Dan, man, I mean, this guy changed my life. Like he really partnered with me. And so because I had the people part down, the equipment, I probably became biased toward the equipment because of how much I loved Dan and how much he helped me
that's good. Yeah.
build my business. Right. But then when I would put the equipment in and I would take a Sharp out as an example, and people would go, oh my God, this is so much better. I started to recognize too that for sure there's a quality behind this whole process just the same. But like if you sit there and tell somebody my Canon is better than your Sharp, they're not listening.
Nobody's paying attention. Okay.
Like, yeah. All right, buddy. Well, that's what the Sharp guy said about the Konica Minolta.
Thanks for coming in.
Who said about the Xerox?
Yeah. Right?
Is there a way to race you guys in the parking lot?
Yeah.
It's a wild thought, right?
So what do you think? So then with that thought, what do you think? Like, you've obviously sold a lot of Canon equipment. We sell Kyocera equipment. I mean, I've sold everything. We had our history. We just went back in history to when I started.
We did.
You're in your
200
late 30s.
years ago. Yeah.
I'm in my mid 40s.
Yep. I was carving it on a tablet for you guys.
Yeah. As Bob, our COO, will tell you, he was there with the chisels before copiers.
Right.
So when you say stuff like that, you have these commercials and these things, and you're like, oh, Canon or Kyocera or whatever. It's not like, to me, it's not like one machine beats the other.
For sure.
So like,
it's service, isn't it?
Get into that. Like, how does that play into effect? It's not only is it service, but it's in my whole philosophy, and I don't know if it's with yours. I mean, we've been doing this a long time. People buy from people. That's my whole thing. I don't care if you're selling one product or another. They actually put their faith and trust into what you're saying.
For sure.
And that's my network in the Chicagoland area.
They buy the person, they stay with the brand.
Yeah, without a doubt. Because you could probably go into that same organization that trusts you with the Kyocera and sell them a Canon.
Oh, yeah.
And they wouldn't even question it. But the other side of it is that you have to have confidence in the product as well, too. But they're buying you for sure, because they're buying your confidence. They're buying your belief.
Yeah.
They're buying the things that you're telling them that you're going to do ultimately, but then backing it up. Because there are plenty of times that I put a Canon out and, you're going to get a lemon every once in a while. But shout out to Dan, and the team at Canon, right? Because we'd put that out, and even my owners, Kyle and Steve, my mentor, Rich Johnson, like these guys, they believed that we were the best.
Yeah.
They didn't just
starts
say it.
there.
They believed that we were the
wholeheartedly
best.
To the bone.
It didn't matter like if there was even a separation of the things that we ultimately, like the morals or a little bit of the white lies, or that
call it hyperbole.
Old school, like inherited things in the copier space, right?
Yeah.
Where I was raised with a guy that was like very black and white. There was no gray area. It was, if the customer isn't happy, we're gonna go work on that. And if it's our problem, we'll fix it. If it's their problem, we'll make it ours.
Yeah.
That was his whole
it's our
methodology in the first place. So even if there was like some discrepancy there, no matter what, all the men and the women that surrounded me in my later years in the copier space, they believed that we were going to fix it. No matter, even if there was some internal arguing, or every once in a while there was like but this is the customer's fault.
End user. Yeah. It's an end user problem.
We would still come to the conclusion of like, well, that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And so we'll just fix this. So that, there've been times for sure that like I've paid $18,000 back to the organization to make sure that I just swapped the machine out on my own. And the company didn't stop me from doing stuff like that. Like they enabled that to an extent.
They had to do what's right.
Hear from people is, can't seem to get our foot in the door anymore, anywhere. Like that's the biggest issue that people have. And it's not because it's not because people suddenly have figured out copiers in this space, as an example, or people have suddenly figured out software. It's that the habitual side of buying things is way different now. The ability to gather information is way different now. And beyond that too, like every sales tactic that people have used to get in front of other folks is just that, a tactic. It's never been a natural thing. Unless, of course, you're doing something like going to a networking event where the party that you're meeting is also there to meet people, to buy stuff, to integrate.
It's mutual.
Right? Then it's mutual. But otherwise, for the most part, a cold call is still an interruption, if you will. And there's
no whiff 'em. Right.
Exactly.
There's no whiff 'em. I always talk to salespeople. It's like you're asking the person to free up their time that they could be putting somewhere else to meet with you. Cool. So hey, can you do me a favor and give us an hour or whatever? Well, okay, what's in it? What's in it for them? Like, what
you're
are they
already asking something
you're
from
already
the other person
asking you're asking for something from them
that they don't even know you.
No give. Where's the give?
It's crazy.
It's crazy.
Salespeople are the most self-entitled, foolish humans on the face of the earth. And I can say that because I am one, right?
Yeah.
But I suffered from that too for a while. But then I woke up one day and was like, why are we doing it this way? Why aren't we trying something? Why aren't we showing people behind the scenes? Why aren't we just being real with individuals? And then I never stopped. And look, like there was plenty of times too, I should just like caveat this, there were plenty of times that I'd get a call from the boss and he'd be like, yeah, they don't want you to drop that piece of marketing off anymore of you, like sending somebody a 8.5 by 11 sized full bleed brochure that's just a guy that's naked with streaks running down the page to cover his private parts and a giant text at the top that says no streaking allowed with a note that you leave,
how do you
for
not
the person that says, hey, I'm not sure if this office suffers from streaking, either one of these types, but if you do, I'm here to chat, right? I've gotten my
HR definitely doesn't like to have. I mean, you're talking about 150, $200 million companies.
So then what I would do is I'd go, oh, sorry about that, and then when I drop the next one off, I'd be like, please don't call my boss.
Just take the appointment
because like people were taking the appointments.
So we're going to take that, just to let you know. And our HR department here won't have a problem.
I'll be the model for the photo.
Yeah.
Oh God, that would be beautiful.
That'd be awesome.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well,
can I be the photographer?
Please.
Yes.
Actually, that's why we actually flew you in. So
we got a photo shoot after this.
By the way, we didn't even hit record yet. So this is just.
So go into that, that dangerous space of like, first of all, for me, it's a network base, right? Like I'm talking to people and on our level, CEO, CFO, CIO, first of all, none of them want to be bothered. They've got all important things that they're doing. They're running $500 million companies, $1 billion companies nationwide, 60, 70, 80 locations, 100 locations, whatever it is. And the worst thing that you can possibly bring up is the copy machine. They're like, do we even have those?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have somebody just bring me the copies.
Yeah.
Where does that come from?
So when I hit print, so when I hit print, it actually comes out and it arrives on my desk.
I thought it just my assistant just brings it in. I don't. Where's the paper come from?
Which is so funny because that's the whole point. Like these people that you're talking to have no clue.
Nah.
And you talk to CFOs and they're like, 3% of our annual budget is spent on transferring paper,
right?
Whether or not it's a Kinko's or a FedEx or a marketing project or an outsourced brochure or whatever, or the copiers, and they have no clue.
It's wild.
Like 3% of them.
It's wild. I think that the majority of decision makers around copiers don't know how the copier works. To be quite frank with you.
And what's the thing? They want to tell you that they don't know what they're doing.
I think that it looks like this, so you talk about, I love how you say, here's our target market, right? Our demographic,
sure.
The people that we're seeking to serve, they're CEOs or CFOs, they're CIOs, they're busy, they're running these massive organizations. So if we go back to like earlier where we talked about the cold call as an example, or the cold email, right? They're inundated with these things.
All day, every day.
100 a day.
I think it's an abstract art, personally. People hate it when I talk about this, right? But like everything is abstract in sales and it's art. So, I don't
Totally agree
I don't
with that.
deny
Totally.
that there's some science, right?
Yeah.
But like this, even the science is art, in my opinion. And
I totally agree with that.
the guys that have made like tons of money super successfully, like running MedPick or whatever, Sandler's submarine system or whatever they're doing, of course that worked, especially because like people needed to buy. And you're operating on these massive brands that people recognize, and so they just kind of inherently trust.
Yeah,
I'm tired of taking advice from people in like Crystal Palaces, and tall towers that none of us.
You put them in the
ever even
trenches, they
gotten
would have no idea what the hell to do.
Bro, come sell a copy machine from a company that nobody knows the name of.
Yeah, go make 100 phone calls on our sales floor right now.
Bro,
see what happens.
Absolutely,
Or come from the top. We just talked about this. The people that come from the top 20 years ago.
Yeah,
and they're like now those positions don't.
They're 10 steps removed from that.
And then they come into an organization like this. They last 9 months, and they don't know how things work, or they want you to go 20 years ago. And
it's crazy.
You just said
it's crazy.
You just said in 2008 it changed.
Yeah.
2009 it was 14. 2019 and then all of a sudden 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. It changed every year after that.
It is wild to me that people haven't, at the top especially, haven't just sat back and recognized that from a sales perspective. See, in other aspects and areas, people recognize it, right? But there are people still out there saying they're like, oh yeah, this thing that was created in the 1980s and 90s is still relevant. And sure, again, of course you're going to sell using it, but are you really building a legacy? Are you making an impact? Are you building the network that you just talked about? Are you just selling something to somebody? Because I could sell to the biggest firms, and this is fact, right? Like I sold to some of the biggest organizations in the world in my territories. And I have gone to them since then, starting this company, and said, hey, I know this is weird, but I'm doing sales. Most of them have said, that makes sense.
Yeah.
You're like,
why didn't you do this 10 years ago?
Person I've ever met.
But here's the thing, though.
That's so funny.
I'm so curious about this because it's called the sales rebellion. But what I think that you have done is you've smashed branding, marketing, and sales together. And I really think that what you're teaching people now is how to become influential, right? And that is part of the total GTM strategy.
Sure.
So you're not just sales, you're really GTM. It's the total thing. How do I get your attention? How do I drip on you repeatedly? How do I stand out and disrupt? Then how do I get the foot in the door? And then once I'm in the door, how do I get 2 minutes that's so good that I earn the right for the rest of the appointment?
Yeah, for sure. Because think about it like this. Like let's say you have 3 organizations selling payroll services, like the biggest.
Yeah.
And they're all selling to the same company, right? They're all in the bid. They're all doing the same discovery. They're asking the same stupid questions, right? Yeah. And pretending that somehow like it's very beneficial to their sales process. And at the end of the day, like how does the person decide? Oh, for sure. I do want to caveat that I still think that when you look at like the product, when there's just this one thing that the product does different, then they're making the decision based on that. But you don't give them the option. You're not giving them as the rep through the experience. You're not giving them the option to pick anything else other than that one thing in the first place. See, my favorite thing was when people would say, it was really hard for us to make this decision, but we're not going to go with your company. I loved that answer. Because I'd go,
it was really
what
hard.
Do you mean it was really hard? And they go, we just love you, dude. It's incredible the things that you've done for us.
Shouldn't that be where it
So what is somebody else giving you?
Right. Well, most likely like $800 less, a month on their leases, right? Where it almost looks unintegral on your part as the seller. Like, how are they that cheap? Like, and you're this expensive, but that's the name.
Was
of the
it a
game
manufacturer?
That we've been in, right? Exactly. Because they just give the business away.
Yeah, exactly.
It's beyond a loss, and they just want the name.
And then they wonder why their service is horrible.
Right. Well, then like beyond the service, that like 2 years later, they call you and they're like,
"Are you still doing this?"
Hey, so there was a clause in our paperwork that had a 200% increase every year on the payment.
Yeah.
There's always ways
100%.
for them to figure this out, right? But you as the person with integrity, standing your ground and not saying like, well, yeah, let me drop my price payment.
That's the first thing that people go to, though.
It is for sure.
It's so sad. Like the first thing they do is they go, well, let me match the price or drop close. Instead of going, hey, look, which person did you like better? Who do you trust more? Like, who are you more comfortable with?
Well, if we go back to the core of what we were just talking about, we get the 3 payroll companies all doing the same thing, right? Running the Sandler sales submarine. Did you take him to the pain funnel correctly, guys? Like, I hate to poke fun, but I have to. So it's my MO. I'm the rebel. So, but imagine, so everybody does the same thing. And sure, there might be this one thing that the software does, but none of them are giving experience beyond this standard sales cycle. Oh, I sent an email after the meeting and then another one with a calendar invite. Like, who cares?
Wait a minute. You're in my cadence. Why are you not buying?
Right. Imagine this, right? So imagine the same 3 payroll companies, and we can just do copiers at this point, right? Like, imagine this, so after the first meeting with these 3 companies, the copier warrior just happens to be one of the guys that you meet with. Well, first off, for sure, they're definitely going to visibly recognize change in regards to my questions will be different always. I'm not going to run a pain funnel. I'm going to run something very abstract in the moment. I'm going to meet you with my art.
Yeah.
I'm going to listen more. I'm going to maybe even say, when you ask a question, I'm going to go, it's an interesting question. Did the other vendor tell you something that made you think that? I'm going to ask that. I'm going to be very blunt, very obvious. But beyond that, there's an experience that's going to happen. So everybody else sends their email. Well, I write mine down on a card and I send it to you. And I don't just stop there either, right? A week later, you get a brick from me and there's a giant Post-it note on it that says repair brick. And there's an instruction manual with it. You're like, what is this? And it says, hey, just in case you stay with the same solution, I got you this repair brick. Here are the instructions on how to use it. And it's she basically shows you how to throw this brick at a copy machine and it's not working correctly. And then, it's that's not actually going to really fix it. It's going to make you feel better. And they're going to be like, Dale.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Never going to stop thinking about it either.
Yeah.
And this
or give them a cell phone back in the early a bag phone. Just go pick those up at the Goodwill or whatever, a thrift store. And be like, this is your bat phone. When this thing goes down, you pick this phone up. Here, in case of emergency, break glass.
Yeah. See, now I would take that to another level, though. If you'd have given me that idea back in 2009, I would have gone, well, no, I'm going to make a literal bat phone.
Yeah.
And I would get a spotlight made while I'm at it too and be like, just shine this.
Just a little on the desk.
I'd go to the next level on those things. See, that was the one thing that if somebody copied something I did.
Yeah.
So when people started to see my crumpled pieces of paper, right, and I had 6 iterations of this. I had one that had a coffee stain on it. I had one that was burnt up, right? And I would tell people hey, you're going to throw this away, so you might as well just use it as kindling for the next fire.
Yeah.
Here's some marshmallows to roast with your kids when you're at it.
Yeah.
When people started to try to steal that stuff from me,
you just come up with it on.
Well, they would do it as they perceived it.
60%.
And I would go all right, well, now I have to take I have to take firewood with it now.
A bundle of firewood.
I have to get the skewers to put the hot dogs on and then suggest the local butcher with a $10 gift card to them for your meat.
Yeah.
And they're like, so I would just always I'd go a little further and just be like, moving the pawn on the the chessboard.
Can you go here?
Hey, what's up, guys? Anybody got something better for me?
Yeah.
It really I fed off of what other people were trying to take from me, but for the most part, people hated what I did. They thought it was unprofessional. I thought it was stupid. I mean, branches of organizations closed their organizations during my reign of terror, as you would call it. Literally, I watched it. We won Florida Institute of Technology. That was my probably one of my biggest deals ever. It was 250 plus, 260 plus machines, print shop, software takeover.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Huge.
They were using something different, I should just say.
Yeah.
And I saw the Uniflow. And Uniflow was cutting edge at the time. Students could use it, interact with it.
Uniflow.
It was a very dope solution, right? But we were the 3rd highest price of the top 3 vendors that they chose.
So you were the highest price.
We were literally the highest price. That was of the vendors that I think they told us overall from 9. 9 people were cheaper than us, right? When you put all of that on the table and you listen to the people and why they bought from us, they'll tell you the solution. They liked it. Mm-hmm. But my favorite was Kathy over at that organization. She literally had an impact on my life that you should probably never really ultimately know about. But Kathy looked at me at the table where we won with all the executives, and my bosses were there, and she said, we really appreciated how you romanticized the future relationship of our firms and what you would accomplish for us. through this solution.
Powerful.
What a great word, romanticize.
What a great word, right?
Yeah.
It reminded me of my dad. It reminded me, and my dad had literally just passed away months before this, right? So it was a moment. It was like a very spiritual moment.
You
for me,
pointed up
where it was like, look at what's happening.
That was like the home run, the home
Got that one.
the home run and home plate. You
Dude,
do one of these.
It was a moment for sure. And there was a lot of that in my life in general, in regards to just like my coming to, when it came to the authenticity that I was slowly tapping into and allowing myself to project. Because in the early stages, it was hard to do that. I struggled with depression. I had attempted suicide at 15. When I had gotten into copiers, like those feelings started to come back as I got into sales and got with a new organization. And then I had a ton of success, and I tried to kill myself again. And most people didn't even know. The only person that knew was my father and my wife at first. It was almost like a shame thing. And it was divinity that saved my life. And so it was almost like unexplainable that I was still alive. And so I felt like for the most part, people wouldn't believe me even. But I learned how to shed that skin and to die to myself daily around these things that essentially hold us back from becoming the greatest. Because really, ultimately, I think that every single person that's in sales has been lied to. They've been told that you have to run this system, you have to do this particular thing, you have to go through all these motions.
It works.
And it works. Did you do it? Did you ask every question?
You have a totally different personality type than me, but it works.
Yeah, right? Yeah. Exactly. Instead of saying sales is an art and it's abstract, and you'll define success in your own way if you just let go of what everybody else is telling you that you have to do and open your mind to the human experience that literally carries the weight of the process and the work that has to be done. But when people stop going, oh, I have to wear a suit and a tie to this. My favorite was I showed up to a big bid, like $8 to $8 million bid, like with equipment plus service, right? It's a massive bid, right? And I'm the only guy that walks in this room looking like me. Like I had Copier Warrior sleeves, like a hat that said Copier Warrior.
Battle hands.
Walked in with a sword.
Yeah,
like,
a sheath. He's like,
let me cut that paper for you.
Everybody in this room, y'all, was dressed up to the nines. Like $10,000
three-piece,
Nordstrom.
Right, my cufflinks were like literally
Nickelback concert,
a copy machine that was jammed and like smoking. You know, like, I was being Dale. That's the thing. Is so people would be like, "You're so good at marketing."
Weird.
I'd be like, "No, I'm
that's
just
weird
good
that you would be
myself.
you."
Yeah, that's it.
Really good at being myself.
But look back at like, so when you say like the authenticity, like be yourself and everything else, it's like when you look at, because you had said, oh, drop the price, $800 is different, so on and so forth. I feel that a majority of sales is like, they've got like 3 deals. They've only got 3 deals.
True.
Like, and they put so many of the eggs in this one basket because this deal is what makes me for this quarter, this half a year, the full year, whatever. And so all of a sudden they come back and they're like, oh, you got to be $800 cheaper. You're like, oh, okay, done.
Because they have no pipeline.
Well, that's what I'm getting to. The whole thing is like with you and having our conversation, it's like
you don't need it.
Just opening up all of the. It's like picking, like this one. Remember when they said like 3 months, Dale, I'll be in the market. You know, you're like, and then you shelved that. You didn't call 14 times, and you were like, "Are you ready?" No, I told you the first time, like, just call me back in 3 months and we're going to get this rolling and everything else. It's like they attack, like these salespeople just don't have the funnel. It's all about creating this funnel where they don't have to be a nuisance to the CIO, CFO. Because then they automatically, they just don't want to do business with you because you're just so pushy.
And you're being remembered the wrong way. Yeah. Whereas what you're talking about is being remembered in a creative way where you stand out and it's a positive way. It might be humorous. It might be,
it's a good,
but
most salespeople I'd send that person because I got that. That's our industry, right? 2 years, we'll be ready in 2 years. I'd send them a calendar of like, 2012, right? And it'd be 2010 and be like, here's the 2012 calendar. I put the date that we'll meet in here, and then
hang it up.
I would also like populate it with really funny stuff on top of it, right? So I would put things like buying a new car because it's about time at this stage. I'd put like, I'm doing
10-year
rodeo.
anniversary.
I'm doing some rodeo work. Not really sure exactly why, but just like at this point in my life, I'll probably be doing that.
Yeah.
Crying incoherently like 2 weeks after.
I'll be celebrating my son's birthday.
Crying,
you don't even have kids.
Crying incoherently because you wouldn't take the meeting 2 weeks before this.
Yeah.
Like, drinking myself to sleep because 3 weeks ago you didn't take this meeting. Like, just like fun stuff that very relatable, very personable, very human, and not out of fear, and ultimately not out of abundance. It's an abundance concept is really what it is. It's living in abundance is that I averaged 77 net new accounts and sales a year for my entire career. Not just for like 1 or 2 years, like the whole time. That's 13 years that I was in copiers.
It was 77
when you do the math. I had years where I sold over 100 net new opportunities. And that, like, when you think of attrition, you think about building something, you think about the way that service works inside of the industry as well too, then dude, I mean, it's like, this is the literal growth model, yet no one could figure out how to do that, especially in like the early 2000s, mid 2000s. And weird to say that, right?
Yeah.
Early 2000s.
Yeah.
We're old guys.
Yeah. Well, the world was supposed to end.
But you said 18%.
You're right, bro. You're right.
When you said 18%, ours is 4.
Which is
ridiculous.
Should be the industry standard, but the industry standard is I think it's 13 and a half.
Yeah, but ours is 4.
It's awesome
because it's like, it goes back to what you say. Like, it's not their problem. It's our problem. Fix it.
Right.
And everyone else just hangs it up and goes, oh, you're out. You got 2 years left on your lease.
Right.
Don't call us again.
Right.
Yeah.
Plus the experience, like the general experience, like people would spend the next 5 years in a lease with my company, and they would know that they were in a lease with my company, right? And what I mean by that is that if anybody that's not in the copier industry listening, let's say you walk into a place where they're 3 years into a lease and you're with a rival company and you say, hey, so-and-so, I do that. Oh, we have somebody.
Yeah.
And you're like, who? And they're like,
can't remember.
Kyocera.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, that's the name of the copier you just looked at. What's the company?
It's typically,
I don't know. We got some lady over there.
What's your name? Cheryl. Cheryl.
That's not
Michelle.
I think it starts with an M.
Yeah.
No.
D nice.
I think it's an M.
Balake.
Anyway, so like you become forgotten. Like they'd never forget. People would just tell my competition, which was I always knew when my competition was out calling on my prospects too, because they would tell them the copier warrior. Yeah, you never heard of the copier warrior, Dale Dupree?
Yeah.
They like literally these people would like build the lore of me as my client, which was crazy.
You don't meet them very often.
My LinkedIn would be like, these people viewed your profile, and it all copier people like they must be cold calling today, right? Like, but that's because like for Christmas, one of my favorite things to do was to bake or cook, and I would feed all my account base. So like when I had 100 accounts, it wasn't too hard, but imagine having 600. I spent all of December
you get
taking
one cookie.
People food and feed it and saying like, thank you for this past year. Even though I never even like saw them or they didn't, they're like, wasn't that like 3 years ago when I signed the lease? Like, yes, it was.
Yeah. You might've forgotten. I didn't.
I didn't forget.
I'm still very grateful.
And I'm here.
That. And really like that's the thing is that my dad taught me in a very simplistic way. He said, if you want to have a happy life, then you have to have people in it. You have to. And you have to have people that want to see you win. You have to feel that way about other people as well. So you have to buy into life, right? That's what my dad taught me that. My dad taught me that in weird ways too, right? I shouldn't say weird, but non-traditional. Like we'd have a date night, all the kids, all 4 of us as siblings, have a date night with dad, just us and dad, no matter what, every month, no matter what. And we'd all have our own traditions. I love to go to Toys R Us. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm that old. I love to go to Toys R Us.
Never want to grow up.
A Jurassic Park toy or a G.I. Joe or something, right? Like, and then we'd go to a movie, most likely. I loved to go into the movies with him and then we'd go back. But I remember one night where I jumped in the car, it was Friday night, right? It was always Friday night, date night, right? Dad was so genius. And he'd go, all right, buddy. We're going to Toys R Us, but first we got to go see somebody. Okay? Yeah, man. There was always an adventure.
Oh, it was like it was like a customer. You went to go see like a customer.
We pull into like my school,
some
like,
early training,
and I was homeschooled, right? So it was just like the co-op that we worked out, that we did school out of every once in a while, right? And I'm like, oh, where are we? I know this place. I don't like this place. Like, I promise, it just be real quick. Help me out though. I need your help.
Yeah.
come on up. So we'd walk up the stairs. K-Doc stool would be waiting. The copier's jammed. My dad's clearing the jam, putting a new fuser unit in.
Medical gloves come out.
Off, putting things here, pressing all these buttons.
Torch.
And then all of a sudden everything's printed, and Kay's giving a hug to my dad, giving me a hug.
Watching that.
Thanking us.
Yeah.
I mean, like, what a great learning experience that people matter more than anything. And the medium was just copy machines that like he used to build those relationships. Like his funeral is the greatest moment of my life. People say like, that's weird. And I say, of course, yeah, it is. Yeah.
But
it's the greatest moment of my life because it was the worst day that I've ever experienced, without a doubt. Watching your hero, your best friend, leave this earth, it's not that. It's beyond easy. And on top of it, I stand up on the stage to give the eulogy for my father. And I look out at just like a literal sea of people, like people I don't even recognize. I'm thinking to myself, there's these people are in the wrong place.
Yeah.
Some wedding crasher stuff going on here.
Way too many people here.
Too many people. And I'm standing there and I hear, just like my dad used to do, I hear someone in the back go, "You got this." That was his favorite thing to do when everything was quiet. He would, like, if my sister was doing a ballet recital, right, and she was on stage and it was quiet and dark, my dad would be like, "Merkley," he'd scream. Right. And I heard that person. I thought, oh, this is the room. Yeah. I'm in the right place. Right. And I could see the smiles on people's faces that also knew that was my dad. And for 6-7 hours, people came up to me and told me stories about my dad that I didn't even like. It was like that Big Fish movie. Right? Where the son is like, "Oh, Dad, all these stories my dad tells, they're just tale."
Yeah.
And then he goes to his dad's funeral and he's like, "Holy crap. It was all real."
Yeah.
And I knew that it was real already, right? But it was, what a sobering moment to have people tell me, "Your dad sold me a copy machine. I only ever met you when you were this tall," holding their hand down by their knee as they talked to me. And then telling me, "But he made such a massive impact on my life. There's no way I was going to miss this."
Yeah.
To send him off.
So the message here is, don't sell a tangible product, right? Use that as a vehicle to achieve a greater purpose. And what you're talking about is getting great people around you.
It's kind of like what I said earlier. It's like people buy from people, right? And just like, who do you want to match up with?
For sure.
Right? So it's like earlier, got a call, right? It's a large customer. I say, "Hey, I got to take this call." I normally don't take all the calls, but I take the calls when, the name comes across, and I answer. And he's like, "Hey, I got a quick question for you." Blah, blah. He's like, "Thanks a lot. Made my day." I'm like, hung up. But it's like something it was a waist toner.
Oh my God, I'm having flashbacks.
Yeah, but you know what I'm saying? Like, but the relationship,
sure.
The CFO that called me and said, "Hey, we're moving facilities in Nevada, blah, 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 blah." That's super cool that the guy can just call.
For sure.
And somebody answers.
Dale, you just completely...
That's like your father. Like your father would be on a Friday night.
Date night.
Date night.
Grab you. And then it was the lesson without
making the rounds.
It wasn't being like, "Son, you're going to get in the car and we're going to learn a lesson here."
Yeah.
And this lesson is that blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
There was no spoken. Hey, we're just going to hop out, go talk, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. And then we're going to get to Toys R Us, a movie, and we're going to get some ice cream on the way home.
Super consistent in that too. Like, that's not like 6-7 months before he died, he handed me basically a notepad, like the Staples notepad, right? Yellow.
Illegal, the ledger, illegal one.
My dad lived and died by paper.
Go to my office.
It was funny too.
Oh my God, Tim does too. Like, you would send this some elaborate email. He's like, "That's awesome. Can you print it out?" I'm like, "Shit,
like to hold this
I gotta now there's an extra step." Like,
yeah. See, he sold document management too. He was like teaching people how to not have a copy machine, but he just loved paper. The guy just loved paper. So he handed me this notepad and he asked me, "Hey, I can't do these things anymore because I'm too weak to get this done. I need to try to take care of my body." At this point, he had a terminal.
What was
cancer?
Cancer.
He had been deemed terminal at that point. It was in his bones, and he couldn't walk as easy as he could, and there was a lot of factors. And so, but he hands me this notepad, and I'm 32, 33 at the time, right? And I'm looking at this thing and I'm reading it, and I'm just breaking. Like in the process, because I'm reading stuff on this notepad that, like, I'm sitting across from a man that's about to leave this earth, right? I'm sitting across from a man that's like, he's staring his mortality
And he's had to write stuff down on a piece of paper.
And here he is with this to-do list to help people
so
out.
it's not on his mind that he's about to pass to the other side. It's on his mind that Betty needs a copy machine moved.
Right.
That Jim needs
Don't
toner
leave people hanging. Don't leave people hanging.
He's like, hey, I might be on the other side, some other dimension looking in. They're going to have their toner. I
will haunt you.
Yeah, what a great
day you get it done.
Dale, they'll have their toner. You get what I'm saying? They'll have their toner. It's not a legal pad.
See the fourth asterisk? Toner for Betty.
Yeah, I think one of the greatest accomplishments of my life actually is lining through every single one of those promises that he made. It was one of the greatest feelings.
Did you take his cell phone?
My mom has it.
No, did you answer his cell phone?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you had to.
Yeah. Of course.
Yeah, because you had to take the phone because they're calling.
Yeah.
Because the people that didn't hear the news.
When he first went down, I was the guy. I was answering his emails.
Yeah.
And we didn't even work under CBS anymore, my dad's company. We worked together at that point. He actually took a role in sales at the company when he sold. I thought that was pretty dope, right?
Yeah.
Just chilled with me and sold in the bullpen, right? And watched me just annihilate the whole industry. It was so much fun. I know that he loved it for sure. It was some of the pieces that helped me with the healing side of it, right? Ultimately was, again,
you got that time.
Yeah, for sure. I did. But on that list, I have to tell that I'll never forget Peggy Ballinger. She had just lost her husband. And she was alone, right? And my dad's whole purpose of me going over there to help her, literally move a printer. First off, pick it up. So a big old Konica Minolta, whatever those home printers that they made. They were
VC 410.
These were made for mortgage companies,
aircraft carrier.
Yeah, bro. It was wild. So I needed to move that, and then had to hook it up. Didn't know how to get it printing right from the computer. Her husband was the savvy one, right, kind of thing. And dad was the only person that she knew to ask for help, kind of thing. And I'll never forget being in her presence, and she was the first person on the list that I was checking off. There was definitely all of them were very memorable, and there's some crazier stories even, but hers was something so impactful because I just told you this story actually in the car on the way over here. She said to me, hey, I know when the kids grow up, right? Because our families had been friends our whole lives kind of thing.
Yeah.
So the kids grow up, they go, I know I'm not going to really see you around anymore. And she said, I just wanted to tell you, if I don't see you, that I'm glad that this was the last moment. It was intense.
Yeah.
I got in the car and just cried like a baby.
Yeah.
I was man, because I've been putting so much of the things in my life that I looked at as important on, the top of my list that were literally none of them should have been there that way.
Money.
Money for sure.
Yeah. This, that, everything else.
I hate money.
Yeah.
So Dale,
use it as a tool. How about a tool?
It's a
tool.
Look, I got a lot of theories about money.
Yeah.
Right. I'm a conspiracy theorist in some eyes. Even I ultimately think though that most of us just have money wrong. That we look around and we see success and we say, I could do that. And I think that most people can too. I think most people count themselves out as I could never run a company or build a business but
they immediately do that.
It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy because I also I know people, man. I know people where I'm like, hold on. All my friends over here that say they can't build a business, come meet this guy real quick. This guy is a total dork. He knows nothing about business.
Yeah.
Here, listen to him talk real quick.
For the record,
I have no idea.
For the record, on camera, he's pointing at Tim, but it's just an analogy.
No, but
it's just an analogy. He's looking the other way.
That's
he doesn't
hilarious
mean Tim.
though, because they look at these people that own these businesses and they think they're oh, but I don't know what I'm doing. If I didn't have all these people, I'd be lost.
You know what you're doing a little bit,
right?
No, but
it's the passion. It's that side of it. Again, because
can't do this without everybody.
So when you've made a lot of money, I think the number one thing that you come to a conclusion of is either you become addicted to the idea of having more, and because really when you figure out how to make money, I try to tell this to all my students. When you figure out how to make money, you're never going to go back to not having it unless you choose that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like quite literally. You can, once you figured out that, this is a process of how I make it through sales, as an example, even if we don't know what we're doing fully, because I still feel that about myself. That's why I'm always in the field,
like reinventing yourself every day. Right?
Every day.
Right. Working really hard to like,
it's going to catch up.
Relevant. At the same time, I also like, there's enough confidence in knowing like, well, this is how I did it. And the basics of how I do
B2B, back to basics.
Well, for me, it's always B2C though. Like ultimately, like I always look at the acronym that way. I always look at the consumer. I always look at it as behavior, consumption, and ultimately the process of why would someone buy in the first place. And it has things attached to it, like you were just saying. There's people out there that don't believe that people have to like you, right, to do business from you. But people like us that have experienced what that's like, we know that it's actually trust more so than it is liking us. Yeah. It's trusting us. And that's the number one thing. It's the guy that's going to get it done. Have to get.
I want everyone to hear what was just said though. So, like, get it. In sales, we often think about how am I going to sell this person? Like, how do I close them? You know, I came up in those bullpens where it's like, who the best closer? Who's going to close you? You know, that type of thing. What you just said was, what makes somebody buy? That's different. Being in sales and understanding how to influence somebody to buy, those are two different things. And I will tell you, the top salespeople that I've ever interacted with knew that. Yeah. They knew how to influence people to buy. They didn't have some unbelievable pitch. They didn't have some line of questioning. They knew how to get somebody into that line of questioning to get to the answer, but it wasn't like they used their creativity.
It gets to a point that how many deals have you really closed?
I would tell you none.
Yeah, like that's how it.
For me, I would tell you not. Like for sure, there's
closing. This will close. Never. It's
Jesus
never.
In heaven. You're triggering things for me right now. I'm about to
PTSD.
Here, hold on. Let me get my towel so you can wipe up the sweat.
Like, that's my whole question. Is like you ask people that have sold I would venture to say tens and tens of millions of dollars worth of
something,
copiers or something, right? I'm never going in there and being like, I got this for you. Here's how you're going to close this guy. It's like you get a call and be like, hey, listen, can you really do this? You're like, yeah. And can I put my faith in you that I'm going to make a decision that's millions of dollars?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
All right. Well, you got the business. Don't screw it up.
I got one for you. So
have you ever been told not to screw it up?
Many times.
Yeah, but
here. So this is a picture. Maybe some people can see.
I'm trying to read. Did you want me to look at the picture?
We'll zoom in on it.
Empty Domino's pizza box. Right?
Yeah.
I love that one.
Is that celebratory?
So here's what I love about this is that the rep she got a verbal commitment from the person, like, yeah, I'm gonna buy from you, and then like all of a sudden it's been 2 months.
Yeah.
Which is a normal human behavior. It's not ghosting. It's just a normal human behavior for people to get busy. And
you're in line.
Forget about you.
You might be in line of priorities. Like
bro, I always think about it like this. People were calling my dad while he was dying, like asking him for stuff with no idea what he was going through because he wasn't like parading around telling everybody, hey, I'm dying, feel bad for me. And I always remember that, and especially the people that were coming to me asking for me for stuff, and I'm just like, I just don't want to deal with this.
My dad just died.
This is not a priority for me.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. And that's an extreme way to look at it. But dude, imagine just like a bad argument with someone in your family.
But that's a human experience.
Or your dog being sick for the last 2 weeks, and you think they're gonna die any minute now.
And I'm kind of not ready to buy right now. I'm kind of can't think.
It's a crazy thought, right? But anyway, back to this, right? And what you're talking about, that in her head, she just was thinking, I just want to get this person's attention again. And that's to me is literally the secret sauce. So when people say like, what's the secret? I'm like, well, there isn't one. But if there was, it would just be attention. That's it. It just needs some attention. People make their own mind up. So here's what she says, right? Dropped off my first empty box. Our Daylight doesn't offer gift cards, so I went with pizza. And she was talking about the donut shop, right? So she went with, because she couldn't get a gift card from the donut shop. I thought that was funny.
Yeah.
The client happened to be there, and loved it. And she says he went to go get sodas to eat with the pizza.
It was empty.
Right? And then he opens it and he sees the note that she wrote and the gift, and he goes, "This is amazing."
Yeah.
And he goes, "Where's the paperwork?" And he signs the deal right there, which wasn't her expectation, which is the point.
Yeah, that's the whole point.
The whole point
was
grab the attention. That's it.
That's all she needed. And for sure, like, I do think, to everybody's point, that the right thing will lead someone down the path. The influence that you provide will lead somebody back to the decision they've already made.
Yeah. In their head. They already know who they're
That's all
going
it
with.
is.
Yeah. But are you going to just be a phone call in the voicemail? I was just looking, you told me 2 months ago that that you're going to sign this, and I'm just waiting. I haven't left my desk yet. I haven't been home in 2 months.
Right, that's it. But that's it right now. You know, it's interesting, you know, just running some stats, and I was going through a LinkedIn training with the team here and running through some of those stats is like the amount of population that is not on LinkedIn is kind of amazing to me because it's a virtual networking. Like everyone's there. You could see maybe some of their interests. If they're posting, you kind of know what's going on in their life at that moment. You can draw information from that. You kind of know where they went to school or what do they golf? You kind of know all those things. And it's so easy to get the message across to people what you stand for, what you believe in. And then when you do something like that, they might go check out your content and be like, that matches up. Like, okay, they're a real creative person. That matches up. I enjoy them. So now they're watching you for potentially a month, 2 months. All the while, you have no idea that they're actually figuring out how they can buy from you. They're not communicating with you, though. They might not be liking your posts. They might not be commenting on them, but they're seeing them in the feed.
They're in the shadows.
They're watching.
Sure. Here, I got one for you right here, bro. I shout out to this guy if he's listening. I got this guy. I'm not going to say his name.
Say his name.
I sent him this, right? He had looked at my profile. I looked where he was from. I saw he was a VP of sales ops. I love connecting with people that are not like my actual decision maker. Yeah. They're highly influential around like how we operate in our business because they have so much data. Like ops has so much data that we can use to say, that's interesting.
That's where the problem might be.
How did you get to that conclusion? Yeah. Oh, we did this, this, and this. I love that side of it because here we go back to the science, right? So we can look at behaviors and we can say, okay, based on these behaviors, this makes sense. But then we apply the art to that where most people are just kind of doing it the way that they do it.
The science and the behaviors help you define the art, right?
Right, exactly. So I just sent him this Michael Scott gif of Michael Scott bowing. I probably did it to you when we first connected to it. Like, it's simple, right? Didn't say anything to this guy, right? And this guy, he says to me, look, this guy has been not been liking my stuff at all, right? Just showing up
you keep seeing
my profile.
In your profile.
He's in the shadows.
Yes.
Right? He's never, maybe he's liked some of my stuff, right? But that's all I sent him. He goes, hola. My favorite, right?
Yeah.
Especially because I'm from Florida, so un poquito español.
Yeah.
Recently got a small box with a balled up piece of paper from an IT salesperson, and I immediately thought of you.
There you go.
And like, that's it, right? Like, it's just that. Done. Like, by the end of this conversation, this guy's going, oh, speaking of sales training, by the way, nothing in here says sales training at all. He goes, speaking of sales training, do you do virtual trainings for your sales team? Because I would like to get some for mine, right? Really, literally, your audience, the buyers, are typically the people that are not doing anything within your content. And we know that well at our organization, which is why we just continue to do what we do, because eventually people get so fed up with the monotony, the mediocrity, the stagnation that they're in, that they just reach out. We built this entire business. Literally 90% of the business that we've had over the last 5 years is people just going, hey, I'm tired of being quiet. And I'm ready to do something. And then the other 10% is watching, like, the practice.
They've been watching.
Yeah.
So I got a good one.
Hit me.
And it's just so easy. It's the golf balls, right? You just put your company logo on the golf balls, but you're out at the course, right? I'm not as good of a golfer as John. He's a great golfer. So when my ball will go to the right or to the left, I leave them there. And the people that I'm with, right? Listen.
He calls it branding, not
marketing.
He's doing some marketing.
It's hilarious because the people I'm with, I'm like, no, just leave that one. Where do you think it went in? They're like, right about here. I'm like,
I'll drop.
Just drop another ball. Boom. I hit the ball, right? So what was this? 6 weeks ago?
Yeah.
5-6 weeks ago, a guy comes to the office, right? He's got a sleeve of balls. He's got a note on his business card. He goes, hopefully you're a better salesman than you are a golfer. And he returned
the golf balls
to the company.
That's so funny.
So he came back, $1 million deal.
Sick.
Is that hilarious or what? And I'm just
amazing.
like, I always say it because it's like, I'll shake a ball or whatever, and I'll be like, marketing, don't worry about it. Just to make people laugh. Just to make people laugh. And the balls are like $2, $3 a ball.
Yeah.
Sure, yeah.
You know, you're
Vice.
Yeah, from Vice. These are
He's doing Titleist Pro
V1s.
Yeah, you're
right?
nuts.
Yeah.
His
But
marketing is more expensive.
Yeah.
You're nuts.
But we're spending $3,000-$4,000 on golf balls a year just to hand out to people at golf. And then a lot of them find their way into my bag and I'm throwing them around the course. And so I'm just like, it's marketed. And then John's like over in the corner, like, it never works. We've never got a call.
And then it happened.
And then it happened.
Exactly.
And at one time that it comes in, it's like $1 million deal.
Yeah, it's hysterical.
And it's like, the golf balls are paid for.
We did it.
Yeah, we did it.
Yeah,
12 years of littering golf balls throughout the state of
Tim
Illinois.
has not won a golf bet. He got the deal. So,
So I
so
just,
good.
I just thought that's
Yeah,
hilarious.
But
You're
it's
a
everything
rebel.
is about attention right now. I just talked to a 63-year-old salesperson who's been a VP of sales, trained a ton of salespeople, has been President's Club, numerous companies.
President's Club.
Outstanding salesperson.
So cool, bro.
Yeah, right. But putting up big numbers, right? And is like, I can't get anyone to answer the phone.
Yeah.
Nobody's taking an email. And I'm like, yeah, you're also not on LinkedIn. You also post nothing. You're also not making podcast rounds. You also do no marketing on your own. You're relying on the company's commodity-driven content. You've built no personal
Which
brand.
sucks.
Yeah. It's and nobody looks at the company's commodity-driven content.
Because this is what was, this was successful in 2005.
Yeah. So,
Drop this off with your business card with an envelope and tell them to,
Here, I'll give you one.
tell them to call you.
Look at that. What's that? What's that logo?
The logo?
Yeah.
Zaxby?
Zaxby's. Now look at the title.
oh, yeah.
Look at the title. Check the title out. This is an exclusive right here.
Yeah.
I've never showed anybody this. So there's the email right from this person.
I didn't read the email. I just read the title.
I'll tell you the email.
Yeah.
I'll show you. I'll actually show you what we sent her here. So now this person, she had a big bid going out for consumables. We help a company in the consumable space. And she had been telling everybody like, yeah, we're going to put this bid out. Well, basically they had gotten wind that she was just going to give it to, the typical person that gets it, right?
Yeah,
That's what was going to happen.
Just going through the formalities to send it all out. And then
the
miraculously, somebody, the same person for the last 20 years wins it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
The worst.
The thought process.
Should be fired immediately. Fire them immediately.
They're on boat trips with them on a
Fire
regular
them
basis.
immediately.
It's so crazy to me that exists.
It's unbelievable.
It's so crazy.
I've had people look at me and go, yeah, you've been considerably less expensive. You have better product. You've had this, and they go like this, but we've been working with so-and-so for this. It's like the devil you know is better than the devil you don't know.
Yeah, I think
It's so crazy.
this one, I don't think this is actually it, but I mean, that's it, right? Like it's not the exact
donut?
same one, but just we sent her the empty donut box.
Mhm.
So because like, here's the thing too, is the attention side, people say things like, I can't get a hold of anybody. That's my favorite thing to hear, by the way.
Absolutely.
And it is their own fault. That what people should own is like, it's my fault that I can't get a hold of anybody. Because I keep doing
Stop
the same
telling your
stuff.
sales manager and your director of sales when they ask like, how are things going? Like, get a hold of anybody. You're not helping your cause.
Yeah.
You sound like a fool.
Yeah.
Like, how many calls you made today? Oh,
Do you know how many-
I made 100 phone calls. How many people have you gotten a hold of? 2.
Do you know how many vehicles we have to get a hold of people?
It's
Right.
yeah.
Not to mention like throwing
Like,
a rock
Not actual
through the window
vehicles,
with
not
a
actual
rock,
cars.
Yeah.
Like we could do
No, yeah.
a million things
Yeah.
realistically.
Yeah.
But this is how people compartmentalize it. They say, oh, I reached out via email
Done.
or I left a voicemail.
Done.
Mhm.
Or that's the thought process. That's how people in this generation, that's how the kids communicate. And that's so think about this for just a
I
second.
sent them a snap.
The 90s start, the early 2000s happen. What takes over, right? all of a sudden here we have these phones. Like I've just showed you like half my life in the last 30 minutes on this phone of like stuff that happens to me. But you know what I hate? Texting.
Worst.
Right. And you want to know why I hate it though? Because it's just such an easy way for people to avoid
get out
everything about life.
So get out of jail.
There's no transfer of energy.
Sorry for themselves and sit in their corner. Right. And I struggle with depression still. Like it's not that I've mastered the art of that. Right. But so I can empathize with people not wanting to do something because they're fighting.
Yeah. They're spiraling.
Yeah. There's never a battle that you know that somebody's in.
But the problem is that the majority of people they decide to take these routes and to use the excuse of, well, what do you want me to do about it? Instead of really just taking more action and ownership. But the big thing too is that like that leads to a lot of like, I mean, I have walked into places, even just when we were promoting Totality, our big annual event that we're doing every year. Don't tell anybody.
Yeah.
First one last year.
So we got another one coming up. Just don't tell anybody.
Yeah.
So I'm going around dropping these giant cardboard cutouts
of just you.
They look like
just you with the sword.
That would have been sick. I actually did that back in the day.
You can't hire Dale full-time in the flesh, but you could hire this cardboard cutout to put in your lobby.
I wish I kept the cardboard cutout of I spent like $1,000 on the cardboard cutout of myself. But no, they look like a vagrant, like the signs that they hold up. Let me see if I can pull one up here.
What's a vagrant?
Yeah, there it is.
Like
a person that doesn't have a home.
Yeah, home or
IT decision makers, this might sting. Frustrated with IT issues, security threats, and the stress of your technology infrastructure, your technology should blend seamlessly with your business objectives. Technology infrastructure management with limited resources can be exhausting and counterproductive. Do you have an MSP but still have problems and technical hiccups? GSD's advisement, proactive maintenance, cutting-edge cybersecurity, cloud solutions, data backup, and local 24/7 help desk can change the game. Your technology should outpace your business operations to allow for growth, and proactive strategies should prevent issues before they arise. Get back your time and your money with GSD. Drive business forward. Leave the technology to GSD. GSDnow.com.
So like
I'm learning all the time.
They look like that.
Oh yeah, we had a guy stand on the side of the road because he didn't make his calls. So so
he did that.
So I had him.
John goes, you don't like the phones? He goes, yeah. He goes, go on the main street and hold the sign.
You're such a mean person.
Yeah. The kids say, no, he's a sports. He knows.
So I imagine like taking that into offices. So I'm walking in offices, taking that and dropping it off. And I had plenty of times in that experience, a VP of sales or an owner of a company, like look at it and say, and scan it even and look at the website and then just like hand it back and go, this is a waste of my time. Why are you here? Right. Like I'm the master of sales.
Yeah.
And I can still find people that don't want anything to do. Right. So I get it. I get why people don't want to do this, but it's the most rewarding thing. I love standing in those situations. Like my favorite response when that happened every time was this: man, it sounds like salespeople really hurt you at some point. Did you want to talk about that while I'm here?
Who hurt you? Who hurt you?
I can get out if you need me to.
Typically, I charge $75 an hour.
Well, 7,500, I think is the number.
Yeah.
Right? You got an hour? I do. The idea is that like not everybody is meant to do business with you. Not everybody will like your flavor. Nobody cares. Nobody.
Yeah.
Right.
Nobody.
But when you can speak to people through, like, because we had dozens of people show up from that same instance of going and dropping those things off. Like one guy, he wrote me a message. He goes, hey, I'm sending 2 of my people from around the United States that wanted to come. You dropped this thing off at my office. The whole place is talking about it. And I thought, I got to at least get a couple people here. Right. And you just send a couple people. Right. So again, like the rewards are always greater. We just don't see them. And sometimes like, imagine that I never got that message for him and he just sent his people and they never even told me the story.
Yeah.
If you're seeking some kind of recognition and you're seeking some kind of like, I don't know, like glory, if you will, inside of the process, you're never going to win. And it's why people can't get anybody's attention because they're stuck in this mode of saying, well, people owe me their attention. I deserve their attention.
This is my job.
And I've always done email and phone call. Why are they suddenly not responding? Well, dude, bro, like if you take your wife on the same date for the next 30 years, at some point you're going to look in there and be like, you're boring, dude. Yeah. You're really boring. I'm going to have the kids take me out on dates.
And by the way,
or how about for 30 years they say, what do you want to eat? And you go, I don't know. And then they go, well, I don't know either. Why don't you pick? And then I don't pick. And then for 30 years, you don't go out to dinner.
Yeah, right, exactly.
So you just make it out on the date the first time.
Yeah, right. Now that's some inception shit right there, right? But so like to that point too, though, there's the risk, right? And so because people say all the time, they say like, well, I want to be accommodating. Well, sometimes it accommodates people to get them out of their comfort zone. You might not think of it that way, and maybe they don't either, but it does.
Yeah.
It challenges, it creates a moment of risk. It pushes them to a limit or a belief. And if people can't see your heart in those things, then they're not your people in the first place.
So are you trying to get to conflict? Because I've found that I found that some of the greatest things that have ever happened in my life were born out of conflict.
For sure.
So
I love the analogy of, or really just, do you remember meeting your best friend? Either of you?
I flicked him in the back of the ear and he wanted to kick my ass.
We fought.
Yeah. You fought, flicked him.
God, so mean. And I
didn't want to. He's a mean guy.
I didn't want to fight him. He would have killed me.
Yeah.
I think I was just trying to I don't know.
You were asserting dominance, right?
Yeah.
Like, I can flick you. I'm back here.
And then he stood up and he had the brown leather jacket with the sleeves pulled. Hey, what's up, Charlie? He had the brown leather jacket with the sleeves pushed up like he was Zach from
Let's Go, Saved by the Bell.
Yeah, Saved by the Bell. He had the sleeves pushed up, and he stood up, man, and he's like, "I will kill you," and I'm like, "Oh my!"
You're my new best friend.
Like, can we just be friends instead?
Yeah. So my best friend, he rolls up to my house. Rest in peace, Zach Fortune, and he's got this giant red afro. This freckles all over his face.
O'Doyle rules.
Big old lips and big old teeth. And he's like, can I swing on your swing? And I'm like, I'm 7 years old, right? And I'm like, who is this kid?
Yeah.
Who does he think he is, right? He wasn't like, hey, my name's Zach. Or like, he's like, can I have a turn on your swing? And I'm like, let me ask my mom. And I go in and I'm like, hey, there's this kid. He's down. He's like all weird and
wants to swing on the swing.
Said it was a swing, and my mom, she's so kind and compassionate. She's like, yeah, that's fine. I'll come out and watch. Because I was hoping that she'd say no.
Yeah. Give you permission to say no.
Right, and then this kid swings on the swing, and literally 2 hours later, he's having Thanksgiving dinner with me and my aunts and my uncles, and for 20 plus years, we were attached to the hip.
Yeah, that's cool. Sure.
Right, like what a cool thought, right?
But it took the guts of him.
Yeah, right. That he was willing to come down and get
think about it on that. Think about it on the other side, his side. I got to go find out how to beat this kid. He's got to swing. I got to swing on the swing.
This guy's thinking, oh, geez, this normal white dude, in his normal house with his cool swing.
Yeah.
He's not.
How do I get in there, man?
He's not going to like me.
You never get what you don't ask for.
Right. Exactly. I think it definitely is that story has just like Charlie. There's two ways to look at that story, right? But no matter what, that relationship begins in conflict. I think it's about blunt honesty is what I always say.
But I think I was trying to get his attention.
Probably.
Because he didn't see me. I was like, I had moved from Georgia to Illinois. I was like the new kid, and I'm like, nobody's talking to me. And I'm like an energetic dude. Like, if you're not talking to me, there's something, like, what is going on? So I'm like flickling this guy in the back of the ear, and then he's like, I'm going to kill you. And then next thing you know, he's standing up my mat.
Do you think that's a genetic thing? Like that he, in his mind, that John thought, oh, if I flick this guy.
Just pay attention.
Because your mom and dad definitely weren't like, hey, bro, if you want friends at school, flick them, maybe even baseball bat them.
No, it was like, wait a minute. Like, I'm trying to be funny. That's not working. Like, I'm trying to like talk sports. That's not working.
Flick
so
this,
like,
dude.
I'm out of options. Funny and sports. I got nothing left. We're going to the flick.
I love it. I love the dominance in that. Yeah. It's good.
And by the way, way bigger than me. Could have killed me.
Charlie,
was
what's up,
taking
Charlie?
A big risk.
Charlie, send me a selfie sometime. I want to see just
how big you are.
Well, Charlie played middle linebacker at Drake.
Was the ending. Oh,
wow.
Yeah,
he was a big guy.
Yeah.
He would have killed you.
Yeah. So,
but it's just kind of crazy how you meet how customers can so instantly become friends. And
for sure. Or not like you.
Or just the complete opposite.
I got a guy told me that my crumpled letter was the most unprofessional thing he's ever seen in his 34 years in business. And
that's the best thing. Thank you.
I just literally
Did you thank him?
Well, I waited for him to stop yapping and
did you thank him?
At me, and I said,
thank you.
Yeah, but you remembered who I am.
Yeah. Thank you.
Dale, you get a kick out of this. We posted on LinkedIn, right? Putting content out on a regular basis. We had this guy who's a fractional CFO. Yeah. Fractional CFO comes on. And he's an older gentleman, so his following's probably of similar demographic, right? So he posts the clip, and all the clips are like, great clip, this is cool, this is fun, this is nice, right?
We actually get responses.
And then one guy goes, why do you have to have the low level belligerent?
No. Vulgarity.
Yeah, low level vulgarity.
Get shit done.
He's like, nice clip. Why the low level vulgarity?
Low grade vulgarity.
Why can't you think of something better? Can't you come up with a better name? And then so Tim's like, nope.
Hey, get shit done.
I like the name.
Yeah,
get shit done. I like the name. Yeah. If people are offended by blunt honesty, good.
And a word they use all the time,
good.
Yeah,
but there's definitely two streets, right? Like I love how you point that out, because I love it how people love to throw stones and then they turn around and like do the thing they're throwing the stone about. Like my favorite thing
isn't that called something?
Yeah, I think hypocrisy.
Yeah,
like my favorite.
You're
thing
a hypocrite.
Like call people out on LinkedIn. I like to do that like at least like twice.
Oh, I read one that
I was gonna ask,
but I'm always like super kind about it though. Like other people are like, look at this dick, and they like throw something up, and but I usually kind of just like set the record, and then like ultimately I hope that I give that person some good exposure to an audience that they hadn't seen before. But I always try to just be like a little bit nicer, unless it's just really bad advice.
I read one of yours was like on December 11th of 2023 you had a post that said the complete opposite of what you're saying now. I read that one, and I was like, it was like a double thumber.
Yeah.
Dale's. This guy's was like a paragraph, and then like likes and comments, and then you get to Dale like
just double.
It was a double thumber, and I read it, and I was just like, "Oh, that's awesome."
It's interesting,
and they typically have the like I ratio these people, right? Because it's like
47 replies.
I'm always like kind, like I'm always trying to be kind because I know that typically in those instances that person could actually becomes an ally.
And people are watching your reaction too. People are
too, for sure.
Here's the thing, Dale, you're up to 90,000 followers on LinkedIn. I don't think you get a rise out of that. I don't think you're chasing a following, but there's obviously something that you're doing. Friends. That people, so many friends. So many friends.
You have a lot of friends.
So many friends. You're so popular. But I don't think you're chasing that. I think you're trying to put really good messaging out that funnels into attention for your brand that ultimately leads to more appointments and so on and so forth. In the wake of that, people that follow the content should be able to take some of the stuff that you're doing and apply it on their day-to-day grind so it's useful. So I see a lot of love on LinkedIn for you, but you also apparently are a very polarizing person, because I see a lot of freaking hate. Why the hate? Like what?
Yeah,
I love the hate.
Why are you pissing people off so much?
It's crazy, right?
It is crazy. Like some of it is flat out mean.
Here's the thing.
Like what, the toxic bro culture hustle person?
Like how about you just fall off a cliff? Yeah. I saw one time. I wish you would die.
I wish you would die.
Yeah,
that's
a good one. Hey, I mean, we all listen to Rogan and
for sure,
all that. And the best thing is like when you listen to him, he's like, bro, you can't listen to the haters.
Yeah.
There's going to be so many of them. And like one of his guests was like, I read them all.
Me too.
And it fuels me.
I'm not that diabolical about it. So I look at it like this. I love people.
For sure.
Probably to a fault, right? So
absolutely.
I typically like, I see the thing, there's two things. Like, I think that most people, they read something that I say and they say it back in their own way.
Mm-hmm.
And
it doesn't sound right to them.
Dale's being an asshole, and they block me or they delete their comment, or when really just like, I'm just responding to you in the way that you asked me to respond. And in most cases, like it's from a place of love. So there are plenty of people though that I just ignore that like usually I give them a little attention in the beginning to get them to come back and keep my algorithm like boosted.
Yeah.
Little known fact.
Yeah.
People hating on your content will drive your content.
Absolutely. It's
100%.
By the way, the money's in the comments, folks. Like you got to create the content consistently and put it out. But if people are liking and commenting on your stuff and you're not reacting to it with a quick response of something of substance to keep the conversation going, then you're ruining the intent of creating content.
Yeah, because people don't want to talk to a wall.
No,
like, just like in any instance, right? So like, if they feel like they're just like leaving you comments for no reason, then they're gonna stop at some point for sure.
Yeah.
But so like the hate. Here's the thing: is that. So when I started this organization, it was based on this principle and this idea that ultimately we could change the face of sales. Like the Sales Rebellion is not an organization. It's not a company. It's not an LLC. It's not a
movement.
It's a freaking movement. It's something much bigger than like, sure, you can go to our website and get sales training. That's totally fine. But I'm cool with that, right? But at the same time, like I don't care if you go there and get sales training from me. You know what I care about? I care about challenging the narrative that you think is the truth because the status quo or the world has told you that this is the belief. That if you don't believe it, you will fall, you will perish, you will falter. They say things like the corporate world, you have to keep your mouth shut. You can't push back. You can't have things your way.
Can't see past this.
If you're not moving up in that structure, then someone else will, and that sucks for you. And look, there is a lot of truth to those things as well too. I just want to point that out. There's a lot of truth to those things, but it does not control your outcomes. It only controls your outcome in that little bubble and silo that you put yourself in. Because right around the corner, there are 40,000 more businesses of small to medium-sized ownership that will give you the permission to do the thing that they've been waiting for somebody to come in there and challenge in the first place. There's too much of this like, oh, you can't do that at a job. Like, I am literally the epitome of what you can't do at a job with a bunch of very like white collar, like very like nice neighborhood men, you know, like that were looking at me going, this dude's crazy. But they'd never seen anything like it, and they
want it.
Would happen.
They want to do it,
and they let it happen.
Are you a big fan of Ray?
I like Ray.
Shout out to Ray.
What's up, Ray?
Yeah.
I have never had a chance to really interact with Ray.
I had a conversation with him.
He has a dope quote on one of my clients' walls at their office, though. I thought that was fun. That for 2 years I was helping those guys out, going in and like looking at this quote on the wall.
What was the quote?
Can't remember what it was.
Wasn't that impactful?
It was dope.
Maybe the quote was.
No, but the quote was probably status quo.
For sure,
it's the status quo. Remember, that's his whole thing.
Most
what status quo is the cancer?
Yeah, it's something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah, he's got a big reach.
The problem is though too is that I'm not afraid to be alienated.
Yeah,
I'm not afraid of people thinking differently of me.
Does it validate your disruption?
I don't know that it validates as much as it's just like I know it's a natural part of the process of doing things right.
It's gotta feel
like if somebody reads a post and they just like twist it in a way that's like, whoa, dude, did you just do that? Like in my mind, I don't care. I don't comment back to them and go, well, you misconstrued the post.
Yeah.
I just go, you are one hell of a piece of work, my friend.
Yeah.
What is it like to be your child or married to you for that matter, or work with you? Like, and I feel bad for them. And I have a little book I actually put those people's names in, and it's a prayer list. And I don't like pray that they'll stop being dicks.
No,
I just offer a prayer up for those people. There's thousands of them in this damn book at this point, right? But just like when I see your name come across, I might be ignoring you for the rest of your existence on LinkedIn because you will be gone. All of you always leave. I've been there since 2007.
So many people.
I can't tell you how many times people just like berate me for 2 years and then they're gone. And then they say things like, oh, LinkedIn's stupid or whatever because they didn't know how to work it.
How to use
and
it.
They were jerks.
Yeah.
So who was going to follow them in the first place?
They thought it was Twitter.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not Twitter.
Exactly.
Wrong platform.
Yeah.
People are wild in this day and age from the hate side, though. It's really the bottom line that I love everybody. I've got respect for everybody. Even if I haven't really had a lot of time to spend with folks, I still got nothing but love for the game and what they're trying to do at the end of the day. But I see it so much differently. And I see the thing is too, is that if you stay in it long enough, so I've been in it long enough now, I've been preaching it since 2017, but through daily content, but I've been leaned into it since March of 2019, doing it full time. And I get hundreds of thousands of direct messages a week, a month, and they're all the same. they're just telling me thank you at this stage in my life. Nobody needs to see those. Nobody needs to know about them. I don't need to redact their face and put the message up and go, look at what I did. I don't need that. Right. But what I do, you want to know what I see? I see inspiration for a person that ultimately didn't have it before I showed up.
Yeah.
And I remember the inspiration that my dad gave to me, my mentors gave to me, the people that they came into my life and they didn't just like spend a little bit of time in it. They compassionately and gracefully cared for who it was that I wanted to become and my authentic self. And they pulled that out of me. I'm really only posting content on LinkedIn anymore because I just want people to have permission. I want them to have permission to do something different inside of their life path. Because we don't make better salespeople, we make better people. We help people to look at their life from the lens of disruption, if you will. We call it rebellion. But really, it's just one simple thought. Like, imagine people preaching a pattern interrupt, right? Everybody says like, oh yeah, you got to interrupt the typical pattern, whatever. Well, imagine that like you were told to do that in your normal life. And not just at work with your cold call script, but in your normal life. Like,
all the things you're scared to do.
What are you going to do this week? And they tell you and you go, cool. Is that like the same as what you do every? Yeah. All right. Well, cool. You're going to do the complete opposite of those things.
Actually, you're not going to do any of those things.
Right. Exactly. Matter of fact,
give me that list.
Just quit your job and just come with me for a couple months in the woods. I'll teach you some stuff, right? Some weird stuff, some good stuff, right?
Yeah,
and no matter what, it'll come out a better person.
You lost me at the woods. You lost
Not interested in the woods.
I don't think we're going to make any sales out there.
The best stuff happens in the woods.
Yeah. It really does.
It does.
It really does. But I digress. That ultimately the thought is that we don't put enough emphasis on like us being better. We put a lot of emphasis on the close and the cold call and the email subject line. I farted in the subject line, like just to get you to open it. Yeah. Like it's a wild thought.
I did open that one though, Dale.
Yeah, it's a good one. I like my favorite is the blow your ass clean off your body email that we made. It was a total joke back in 2020. I hope this email blows your ass clean off your body. That was in the preview.
That was a subject line. It
was in the preview text.
Oh, preview text.
Right. That got more open. I think like 98% open rate. Like that's it, right? But like again, like at the end of the day, that's something very authentic to us, and it wasn't a gimmick, and it was literally just like you probably get shitloads of these in the first place. So
all the time.
I hope this one actually does something for you.
Yeah,
I didn't get it, but I would have opened it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the whole idea of sending it, like, why send it if it has a low likelihood of getting open? I mean, the whole point of what you're doing is through all of your teaching is going all back to that attention thing. Like, none of the merit of what you're capable of doing to solve problems and create value and benefit matters if you can't get somebody to pay attention to it in the first place. So that's the first step that you have to master.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy though that you look at gsdnow.com and it's like get shit done. So it's already pushing the envelope because you use the low grade vulgarity of the word shit. Like the people that go, yeah, we're going with GSD. And the other, like CFOs are like, yeah, what does anyone know what GSD? Yeah, get shit done. They're like, oh, sweet. GSDnow.com.
Yeah, get shit done.
It's just funny how it kind of just circles back around to just pushing the envelope in every which way of every direction of your entire life. Don't repeat the same things every week. You're just not doing yourself justice.
So do you schedule doing something different?
You've got to.
I think it's.
I know you're big on schedules.
For people to do that for sure. I live the abstract art that I've been preaching about earlier. So like I'll get home tonight and I'll probably just throw everybody in the car and drive to a city in the middle of nowhere for no other reason than just to like
hang out.
We could have stayed at home.
Just to change the aesthetics.
Or we could just go somewhere else and then like wake up and drink at a coffee shop in the area we've never tried before.
Yeah, you're spending the night in some other place that they're going to have a story. Your kids are going to be like, do you know Dad used to get in the car? We never knew where we were going.
Dad was so weird.
Yeah. You
know? We never knew our destination.
Meanwhile, they've seen the world. They understand people.
They're homeschooled too, right?
They are. They're homeschooled.
Yeah, I'm talking to my wife right now.
Your football team's going to suck.
Yeah, well, listen, bro.
Unless you have 9 more kids.
I had 6 scholarships for basketball, 7 for soccer.
Awesome.
And this is because my dad wouldn't let me play football. So I am
Do you automatically
taking My dad broke his neck, by the way, playing football.
Okay, well, that'd be a good reason.
Yeah,
he was a guy headed to the NFL, right?
Yeah,
like,
that's a solid reason.
Yeah, so I get it, but then like I broke everybody's legs playing soccer, like
yeah.
So I think it kind of backfired on.
So you're a defenseman.
So my kids will be like they'll most likely be in tennis.
That's Tim.
Golf.
Tim's a hockey player. He's like going to golf.
I'd be like, yo, you don't want to do. I broke my leg playing soccer.
I just talked to Pickle last night, and I'm feeding my 9-month-old, right? So I get home and I can't do the yogurt thing, but I can do this applesauce sweet potato like out of this thing. So it's like yogurt gets me. Nobody in the office is allowed to eat yogurt, by the way. And hey, listen, if they do eat yogurt,
Jesus Christ.
if they eat yogurt, they have to go in the warehouse. That's the rule. I will immediately throw out. It's just the yogurt. I have no idea. So I get home, I'm feeding. Brian calls me. What are you doing? I'm like, I'm feeding Lawson. He's like, great. He's like, hey, I was thinking about a sport for him and we should probably get him into golf. He's like, because I'm headed to the doctor and I'm talking about my concussions and everything else.
Yeah.
He's like, no real hits to the head. He's like, let's get a professional. Let's get him a golf club. And number one thing is you don't teach him. And I'm like, hey, and Brittany, my wife, she's like, I like him a lot, Brian. I like him a lot. Like, I like Brian. Yeah, we don't want him in hockey. And because he's on his way to pick up his kids at the rink. They call them rink rats, right? And it's like nonstop. Yeah, it's like at the rink, doing this, traveling
3-4 hours.
If you've ever been in the hockey life, you know how it's like they go, it's awesome, it's unbelievable. You talk to them during the moment, they're like, we hate this. It's the worst thing. We haven't left this rink in 4 days. And it's like, why do that to your kids? Like, get them into tennis, and whatever. Get them into something that's. We
do have a court up at the top of the world where we live, right? That's what it's called, by the way, the community. So we do have a court. Nobody goes to that. I do have a lot of fun with them at that court, but I think it's more about getting them away from this idea that they have to go and do something every day consistently from the perspective of what the status quo would tell them to do. So, like, look, if you want to be good at sports, school's dumb.
It's dumb. You and I can talk for hours on this.
I was homeschooled too. Right?
You were homeschooled?
Yeah, I was homeschooled.
Is college a scam?
College is a scam.
I was homeschooled on the streets of Chicago.
Let's go. I was homeschooled on the streets of Orlando.
Yeah.
Mickey Mouse, bro. I had to read everything.
Oh no.
Constantly.
Yeah.
But I think about like my upbringing, and I think about all my siblings went to college, to a college, to some capacity. My sister was a UF graduate. Go Gators! Sorry.
Gators.
And not only that,
all 4 years.
Was like she has a master's in ballet.
She's super smart.
She's nasty.
Yeah.
She's one of the most incredible artistic, creative dancers I've ever met in my entire life. And
awesome.
and what does she do? She's a full-time mom.
Yeah.
Homeschools her kids. And she's a Pilates instructor, and she owns the biggest boutique
Pilates
in Central Florida, right? Like the boutique is actually, it's called Boutique for a Week. Anybody want to check it out? It's like all like secondhand thrifting basic. She's sick, bro. She's sick.
Does she know what she's doing?
She's freaking sick. And then my brother-in-law on top of it, he's a genius, right? So you got like two of these most incredible people.
Yeah.
But my sister and I come from this background of like non-traditional schooling, non-traditional thinking.
Yeah.
She had my brother-in-law would say it for sure. She had a huge influence on his evolution since he met her, fell in love with her. And really just because like hang out with a couple of kids that just like don't see it through the lens
of the system,
of the literal system that's
you haven't been
you to stay
indoctrinated
within it.
Yeah.
Right? Like I walk around New York and
here's where you fit. Here's where you fit.
Here's the puzzle
Here's
piece.
where you fit.
Stupid.
I go to big cities like Chicago.
Well, that was what they called me
in
school. I was stupid because I was dyslexic and had attention deficit, so I was stupid. Meanwhile,
you had ADD?
Attention deficit disorder.
Yeah.
And I'm dyslexic.
Hey, Dale, I got him trumped. You ready? I got an ADHD. It's in high def.
Yeah. High def. You are coming through loud and clear.
360.
In 2001.
That's early.
Think about that.
Yeah. But the system the system tells you that you're...
Oh, I'm sorry. No, 1991. I'm sorry. 1991.
That's real early.
Yeah, that was the era of
you were like the
and Ritalin.
first one. Yeah.
Oh, your kid's like super hyper and like
here, we have this new drug.
Learn. Yeah.
Have him try it.
Not learn in a classroom because it's stupid.
Oh.
Inundate him with drugs.
Yeah.
Settle him down. Cannot let him speak to any other students.
Yeah, I can't imagine why this 9-year-old couldn't sit still and didn't want to go read from a book. Like,
Or just how about throwing the ball?
So
while
I must have been stupid.
Well, my Uncle Bob, he grew up in the 60s.
Everyone's got an Uncle Bob, by the way.
Yeah. My Uncle Bob is the best though. He's autistic and like high functioning. Like he's on another level. You hand him a Rubik's
What's his
cube.
thing? Like what's his good, like his superpower?
Bro, he can play a video game like you've never seen. He can.
It's over.
Like an 80-hour video game.
Yeah.
12 minutes.
4 minutes. Take a Rubik's Cube that you've spent like half your life destroying and getting like where every single color, right, is like different on every side. You're like, oh, this is perfect. And you give it to him and he just kind of looks at it and goes, and then gives it back.
Down and then goes and does something.
Bitch, how did you do that?
Yeah. Like, never even says a word about it.
So imagine though, like he got beat. Awesome. He got beat in school. They whooped him in school, right? And then I think, like as the story goes, I don't want to tell the story incorrectly, but I think that even my grandfather was like, or my granddad, I never met him. He died of cirrhosis of the liver. He was an alcoholic, but even he was like frustrated, you know, in the system, like here's the system influencing the parents to be frustrated about their own child. Yeah. But then the government was like, oh, I think these people have a problem. And my Uncle Bob is like one of the first kids ever to be introduced to the newer system for autistic kids.
Oh, that's cool.
Where they basically gave you a test. You took the test and whatever you scored, they had like a page that they would take you to and go, well, you scored this, so you can do any of these jobs. And my Uncle Bob scored on a level where the whole book was his oyster. Right? Yeah. Like they were like, you can do anything you want in here. You want to work at NASA, bro? Yeah. We got you. Right? Guess what he chose? He chose watchmaker.
I mean,
he didn't go to school for making watches, right? Yeah. He didn't. It just was like a passion and something in his head where he thought like all the little tiny gears.
Yeah.
Right, putting all that stuff together.
So what did he do? Like he took one apart and he was like, watches. He just took, but early on, did he like take one apart? He's like, this is amazing, and then put it back together.
At some point, there's got to be a story in there where he
just think about
where he was tinkering with something.
How many watchmakers you know?
None.
Yeah, like Reed Knight is my favorite story. He's the founder and owner of Knight's Armament. They're the largest gun manufacturer of the United States military. Second largest, first largest, second largest. I think they're the largest.
We're gonna come to the first largest for the show.
Just for the show.
Yeah.
Reed Knight, check him out.
Yeah.
Knight's Armament Company. They're a phenomenal organization. They do a lot of great work in Titusville. But more importantly, Reed has like how I preface that, Reed has the second largest privately held tank collection in the world. And the first largest privately held gun collection in the world. It's a museum.
Tank collection is awesome because I don't think a lot of people know that the military, when they're done with them, you can buy them.
Yeah. So this guy just like
pennies on the dollar.
Buys them all, right? He's also got like a 12 car garage like at the office with like Lambos and whatever.
Yeah.
The guy's a guess what? High functioning autism. His dad, who was a citrus farmer, 10th generation, right? Told him like, you're too stupid to work on this farm. You're dumb. Yeah. Basically.
Thank you, Dad. Thank you.
He gave him the family. The family gave him the keys,
green light.
Right? They gave him the keys, and so they were basically like, well, "What do you like to do?" And he had just like taken guns apart and put them back together. And was like, "I like doing that. I like guns." And then boom, all the largest gun manufacturer for the U.S. military.
Oops.
Right, what a crazy thought. So I have. It's why I just have this is why I have a problem with school, though, right? Like who has ever heard these stories?
Never.
And these are people that are like, they have ailments and issues, right? So us as normal people, right? We are literally just being like put in a box and herded into whatever. Like again, like I go to big cities. I think of like Miami, LA, Chicago, New York, and I think
Chicago's by far the best out of all those.
Yeah, for sure. Like I'll go ahead and
thank you.
Shout out to Chicago.
Like, what's up,
Chicago's gonna email us like, thanks for the shout out.
I think it's great when you find people that have all these elements and everything else, and it's like wow, I wonder where they're gonna be 20 years, and then all of a sudden it's like your buddy,
dude.
Or like my niece is just an amazing person. She's like a top doctor, top nurse in her field, travels around everywhere. She's amazing, just a solid, biggest heart in the world, saves hundreds of people from dying a year. Doesn't ever talk about it. And then you're like, hey, how was your day? She's like, oh, great. I had to plug a guy's aorta today with my thumb because a spike came off a pickup truck and went through his body.
Oh my gosh.
You know, but you know what I'm saying? And then she's like 27, 26, 27 years old. And, on the spectrum of, but she's like, you don't define somebody by that.
For sure.
It's just so crazy how the society is with
crazy.
people.
Well, in this society,
it's like
we
all
define
learned.
everything.
Well, it's
Everything's defined.
Yeah, but
what's your label?
We're like in the Dewey Decimal System.
I don't even want, don't even
This
go.
guy's mid-sized,
Stop.
bald, white.
Stop, John. Stop. This is live. This is our first live show.
We're headed in the wrong direction.
No, but I mean,
Don't go down the rabbit hole.
But it's just a number.
I think that what you offer to people in sales from, this is obviously the first time that we've talked, and I've looked at everything that you've done and we've communicated. It's like some of the great things that you do is you coming out and saying, hey, I didn't go to school. I was homeschooled, which is by far the best way to be schooled. And from what I see, right? Because all the hours that are taken up in school, you have an hour gym class, you have lunch, you have this, but you can get a full day worth of school at home in 3 hours. Done. You have the rest of the 5-6 hours to go do what you can do, which is additional learning.
Probably why you excelled at sports too. You have more time to do it.
Yeah.
Way more time.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's just a different way, but what you're offering these people from that come in and that give you this chance is like, you're authentic. You're going, hey, I don't really care about what you sell or how you do it. Just come follow me for a minute.
Yeah. And sure. Dale, I got to tell you, it's that, I do admire the fact that you are unabashed in talking about your history. I mean, you just throw it out there, like, and it's not contrived. It's just, you're just speaking your truth and just talking about it. And I think that's, I think that maybe it was rebellious at a time. Now it's just so natural. And you've written a lot of posts about depression, about your battles and things that you've overcome. And, I see people that hate it or think that you're making some sort of a play or whatever. But somebody like myself who has battled mental health and so on, when I read that, I'm like, that gives me a little bit of boost, that it's like, hey man, like, you're not alone, but also somebody's willing to throw their story out there with one intention. If you could help one person that reads that think different, feel better, relate, especially men. Men are not supposed to have mental health issues.
Oh, the carrier of all burdens?
You're not, you're just not supposed to. And
your problems. Yeah. Right? We're going to carry everyone's problems.
I'm not saying that women don't.
It.
I'm not saying that women don't, but women are more emotional creatures. And, we are taught part of the system that we're not supposed to be. And I think that veil's coming off a little bit, but I think some of that has to do with the fact that people that have a platform of some sort are willing to talk about it. So Thank you for that.
Yeah, man, my pleasure. I would say this, that the women in my life actually helped me to
the biggest rock.
That's
really open up about these things. That the men, like my dad was great about it for sure. Like he was always very helpful in that part of my life. But it was the women that I just could relate to them more around the thought. And ultimately they were the ones that pushed me to speak up and stop holding it as some kind of secret that I don't have to fight by myself. So they were highly inspirational, the mentors of women in my life, from siblings to my mom, especially, to other women that I looked up to, worked alongside, business owners, right? And really I think that's the thing, that the biggest reason why I talk about it is because Marvin Couch, name that I mention whenever I can, absolutely beautiful human being, and
shout out,
very, very influential on my life and very successful. He was a senator in the state of Florida before, and the guy's like, he's battled everything, right? Like his story is insane, man. The first time I learned his story, from like drugs to politics to owning his own commercial painting firm that's like 20, 30, $40 million all of a sudden, like just from his hard work.
For a painting firm, that's pretty huge.
This guy's sick, right?
Most painting companies are like $500,000.
Yeah. Right. This guy also, like when I was playing heavy metal when I was like 16, 15, trying to pursue that part of my life, and going to church and being just like denounced by the church.
Because you're playing heavy metal. Yeah, you're done.
This guy also, who was in that church, this guy, you'd look out in the crowd, he'd be right there. Thumbs up, big smile, do your thing. Right? He told me something once. He said the only way to fix something that's broken,
break it,
is to let it break in the first place.
Yeah.
And he always encouraged me to
completely break.
Yeah. He always,
that's rock bottom.
He always encouraged me that like ultimately that I'd been there. And because of my suicidal ideation and attempts, and he tried to help me to understand that, like, hey, buddy, like you have literally seen something that most people never will see in their life, and you lived, and now it's time to help other people to understand that,
so they don't get to that point,
so they don't have to go there, and it doesn't mean that you can suddenly control everybody's breaking point, but if there are people out there that hear me talk and they're in their mind, they're thinking, I've thought about it, but then they hear like my story and they ultimately realize and recognize like, oh man, I could actually end up doing it, not just thinking about it.
Yeah.
Hopefully I just saved a marriage. And hopefully I just helped a child have a father throughout the course of their life. Those are the things that run through my head. So I don't really care what people say. I don't care when people DM me and they tell me, well, why don't you just kill yourself already? Why keep talking about it? I don't care about any of that stuff. I love those people. I'm grateful for them. And they continue to fuel me in a way that exudes love, right? Not anger or hatred or some kind of weird raw passion from that standpoint, but really just compassion and grace in those moments. Because like, look, most of them probably, again, have never felt the way that I was meant to feel or made to feel at one point in my life through the abuses, through the struggles, because my story goes a lot deeper than just like I was depressed. It's like, how did it start? And then how did it escalate? And how did it become worse? And what are the struggles? And I have no problem talking about these things. I don't believe, like, I love therapists. I love what they do. I've spent time with them. They never fixed me. They never helped me.
No.
And that's just my honest
me neither
take, right? They've never really taken me to the level. There's one out there though that I highly recommend to everybody. He's one of my greatest alliances, one of my best friends in my family, right? But I highly recommend him. But but beyond like what he could have ever done for me, I don't think I would ever go to a friend in the first place, like to pay them as a therapist. I would just go sit on his back porch and like let him just like do his honest work with me.
Can you just fix me?
Yeah, without that, just like football and then way too many beers and then all of a sudden like,
could you help me stop thinking?
I think that there's
how do I stop? Just completely. Like, how do I turn my brain off? Like now?
And that's the problem. That's the freaking problem. Is man, it's like the brain just goes and learning how to write it, because it doesn't stop. You just gotta learn how to redirect it.
For sure.
Or see it different. That's like, it's an art form, and once you learn how to do that, then you got a shot.
Yeah, for sure. Well, my brain this is why I'm so vocal about it. My brain tells me that I should be ashamed of the abuse that I suffered, that somebody else did to me. I should be ashamed of it.
That caused you to push it down or numb it, and then you have to have regret and shame of that.
Yes.
Thinking and feeling this way.
And that's what my brain tells me.
And then when you want to fix it, then you're a pussy.
Right.
So then you should have regret and shame about that. Now, this is within 5 minutes. Your brain is going through that scenario.
Seconds.
And you're sitting, and meanwhile you're sitting.
5 seconds.
Meanwhile you're sitting at dinner trying to have a conversation with your family.
Yeah, dude.
But that's going on in your head.
Yeah.
That's hard.
Nobody talks about it.
That all of a sudden your 5 or 6 year old say, "Hey, Dad, how's your day?"
Yeah.
And then you're supposed to have
you're supposed to be like,
you're
"Hey,
supposed to,
buddy."
You're supposed to get like that long. Like that's why I picked a house with a really long driveway.
And you park at the front of it and then walk.
Yeah. I walk down it, and you can ask Brittany. She'll tell you that there's times that I'll just park the car and like
reset
walk around that. Like, are you okay out there? 5 more minutes. I'll be fine.
Yeah.
Just open the front door. Hey, how's everyone doing?
Yeah. Reset.
Yeah, I have. So my son,
that's
my oldest son is 6,
awesome.
and my youngest is coming up on 2.
Yeah,
and like my youngest son, I've already expressed to him and told him about my struggles with depression. And so when he says something like, like, "Hey, Daddy, will you play with me?" and I'm like having a really hard time, I'll sit with him and I'll look him dead in the eye and I'll say, "Daddy's struggling right now, but Daddy loves you.
Yeah.
And he wants to play with you, but he's struggling really hard. But I think the problem is that most men fear that and fear like what my son will say to me one day. And I hope that he'll say the same things that I used to say to my dad, which were thank you, constantly for like being that thing in my life that wasn't afraid of the truth.
Yeah.
And I hope that. And so my wife like picks it like, well, this just recently happened. I was in a city. I still struggle with depression. Like I said, it's not like it's rid from my life.
No, it doesn't go away.
I beat it. I beat it on a daily basis.
You can't stop it. You learn how to contain it.
You won?
So, whoa. What, you're going to write a book about that?
Yeah. It's 497 million to 1. Yeah. And you're the one?
You're the one. Man, I'm so glad we had you on.
We're on for 2 more hours on this podcast. Explain to me how you beat it.
You're welcome, guys.
Yeah.
So
we're going to change the world.
I'm meeting my wife and my kids, and we're at dinner and with my sister, and I sit down and like it. I really appreciate the level that I'm on with it. Is really the thought. Where I sit down, and within like seconds, my wife's like, "What's wrong?" Right, and she knows how to ask it too, right, in a way that.
So she didn't ask what's wrong.
No. She asked it about 3 times too, right? Like
in her way.
Yeah. And like, what happened at work today? Like things like that.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
Yeah.
She's good at it.
Yeah. Trying to
She's a
pull it out.
psychologist also, but anyway. So
like for real? Like for real?
You're in trouble.
Yeah, she's the reason I'm so good at sales. She taught me, bro. She's like, hey, look, this is how the brain works. So,
oh my God. Here's a nugget. No. You want to sell 10 million?
Y'all want to know my real secret? It's my wife getting a degree in psychology and me like opening the book about criminal psychology and learning about the serial killers and going, that's like the owner of this company I'm trying to sell to. Crazy. So all I got to do is kind of like
how his brain works.
Accommodate these things right here and like cut some flesh off and let him eat it and like I'll get the sale.
So he likes to wear red high heel shoes. All right, so it's red high heel shoes in a donut box.
Yeah. So
Silence of the Lambs.
Exactly.
But
put the lotion.
I think the real
give me back precious.
The real way to conquer, if you're somebody that struggles with mental health, the real way to conquer the day is to know that you have people in your corner that like can empathize ultimately and that they won't judge you. And the only way to find those people is to seek them out. Like I do question myself.
That's the hardest part. Because when you're in the spiral, you want to be isolated. You don't want to seek anyone out.
Yeah, but you also have to show the vulnerability.
Yeah, so like
that's hard.
This might be intense for some to hear, but like when you kill yourself and you live, which is my story.
Yeah.
Then everything in life becomes extremely easy in comparison
to that
moment and those things that you've gone through. And so when I think about like how hard it is to be vulnerable or honest with people, I'm very quickly, I conquer that thought because I go back to that moment.
Nothing else matches.
When God revealed himself to me ultimately and my life was changed through the power of divinity. And I think about my real purpose on this earth and ultimately like where I've been. And I go, and I think to myself like, well, I could poop in my own pants at 39 years old in this podcast room and then look at the two of you and go, hey guys, I just pooped in my pants. I need help. Could you please call an ambulance? I think I'm sick.
If we had darker chairs, it'd be cool. But
yeah, I'm trying not to do that. Also, just want to say that. But again, like
I get it.
To me,
vulnerability.
Like, nothing's off limits in my mind. Like period. No matter what it is, struggles with alcohol, addiction to drugs, struggles with pornography. Nothing is off limits in my mind in regards to like things that you can be vulnerable about and talk about. Now, people say all the time, they say like, well, I'm not comfortable with that. Well, that's why you suck.
Yeah.
Well, they're not comfortable with it because they go home and watch pornography.
Well,
that's why they're not comfortable with it. And they don't want anyone else to know it. And you're pushing that button. Don't push that button on all the things that everyone else is thinking. How dare you push that button
for sure
on the fact that that person is on the verge of alcoholism and is one bad decision away from whatever it might be. How dare you push that button and try and help the thousands that would like to hear it. And that's the hard part, right? Because people, like you said, throwing stones in a glass house. there's so much hypocrisy out there, and it makes it so easy on social media for people to have this stance and this posture. And meanwhile, as soon as they say something mean to you, then they go and they scroll through Pornhub for.
I love that. Stuff.
It's like crazy.
I love the fact that they have the prop. I don't love that stuff. That was a horrible timing. I love the stuff of like when they come to you and be like, oh, you want, like, you're out at an event and they're like, hey, get a beer. We'll get a shot.
Just get one.
No, like, I haven't drank for 13 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Right.
At this point, like, I'm over it. Right. Like, I am. I don't have, like, sometimes I wonder, like, what it like. I obviously gave it up too early because all this good shit's out. Because but buddy JR's making whiskey. We got all these people. What is it? IPAs. I mean, they can get cinnamon
IPAs
with mahogany chestnut roasted Appalachian Mountain citrus beer.
And that's just one beer.
Yeah, for $13.
They're delicious.
And it's 9.7% alcohol.
Delicious.
So clearly it would have saved me money on just having 2 beers and been drunk. And then because it's, you're drinking 30% alcohol.
Sure.
Or when people go like, oh yeah, just you don't drink. Be like, yeah, you're the person at this moment that's going to change my mind on drinking because you're trying to throw a beer or a shot down my throat. And they're like, they kind of like look at you and be like, listen, it's safer for you if I don't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's what they don't understand.
It's safer for you.
I might not be doing this necessarily for me. It might be more for all of you.
Everyone here in the vicinity of this. But I have no problem telling the people the just like the craziness that's gone on in my life. When you ask, I'm not going to come out and be like,
sure.
So today is what happened,
Right.
Or 13 years ago today.
Right.
I had one post on LinkedIn. I don't even know. I think that you actually liked it. Like, it was like,
you're welcome.
Yeah, thank you. I think that you were like, yeah, because I think that's what opened me up to sending you a message or whatever. It was that post with my dad when I was in Budapest. Yeah. And I gave like a paragraph, like that day was 13 years sober, but my dad woke up in the morning and was like, hey, congratulations. I'm like, we're at breakfast. I'm like, what are you talking about? As the night before was a rager because Kyocera holds these really great parties.
Shout out Kyocera.
Kyocera. Yeah. Oscar Sanchez.
Nobody came back from the trip and made a sale for 3 months.
Yeah.
That good of a
we were on a boat in Budapest on the river. Yeah, on the river that had unlimited alcohol. I mean, how crazy is that, right? Nuts. Absolutely nuts. In the middle of nowhere, going down a river. But, the next morning, my dad's like, hey, congratulations. I'm like, yeah, for what? He's like, 13 years today. I'm like, oh, wow, I don't even think it's cool that I don't even think about that. And he's like, yeah. So that day was kind of like a thing that I took a picture with them. And I'm like, hey, my dad brought up the fact that I've been sober for 13 years today, which if I was still drinking, I wouldn't have been on that trip with him.
You would have been trying to ski on the back of the boat.
Yeah. I would have been a
hippo.
Yeah. I wouldn't even have been on the trip and I probably wouldn't be here and I'd definitely be dead.
Yeah.
Because the gutter was very shallow. It wasn't a deep enough.
Yeah.
That was just how it was. But like when people ask me and they care, which is funny because I have friends that'll be like, hey, listen, my wife thinks I'm drinking too much.
Yeah.
I'm like, is it ruining this, or this? No, and she got drunk with me and be like, it's not a problem. You guys had a good time, whatever. But then there's other people that are like, hey, listen, I can't do this or I can't do that, or it's in the way. And I'm just open with them. I'm like, hey, listen, if it hurts this, or this, or makes this person feel that way, I would look into it. Mm-hmm. Right? Just because those are the indicators.
Yeah.
Right? If your sister can't talk to you because you're an asshole,
it might be.
That's an indicator.
Could be a problem.
Yeah,
check
the box, right?
Yeah.
But like, there's, I'll gladly be out and be at a hotel bar or go there or have dinner here and buy the drinks and have no problem.
What we're trying to say is we're still fun.
Yeah, the people
we're still fun.
I'm super fun.
We're super fun.
Do you drink?
No, I quit in 2020 and on the New Year, right? Like, and it was actually to honor my father who was an alcoholic until he was 35. And he went cold turkey and numbers and years and time is what I use. And so 2020 just happened to be significant in regards to the numbers. And so I quit.
So you haven't drank for 4 years?
No. And I worked the whole, I 100% when my wife orders like a natural wine with no garbage in it, that like people touched the grapes with their hands and it's orange because of that. And like the old world stuff. When she gets a glass of that, I absolutely have some with her. Because for me, it's the romance of like my wife and I's relationship and less about like how many glasses can I have. Yeah. I'll just like sip on a glass with her. But I had an IPA. That was my drink. I had an IPA on January 1st of 2021 after the pandemic with my best friend, Anne Marie, and her husband, Kaz, who's also my best friend, and my wife. You know, we got this whole like...
There's a room of best friends.
It's so good, right?
Yeah, it's cool.
I freaking love that about the two of them.
Very cool.
They're just like having a couple you just do everything with, and they just love them.
You available? No? Okay. You available?
Well, the best part is it's like, we're always all available for each other. Like, and now we got kids and like, it's still a thing, right? Like we pursue being around each other, right? So like very close. I say all that to say like very close relationship, right? And so, and her and I always split IPAs because they're just so heavy. It's hard to, but they're so tasty. So we got an IPA, we split it. I drank half, she drank half. And afterwards it was, do you want another one? And I was like, I think I'm done.
Yeah.
I think I'm
So do you call yourself a non-drinker then?
I just don't drink. Yeah. It
Yeah.
was never like a problem for me. I just
choose not to drink.
It wasn't a helper.
I love it, guys. I love it when the sommelier or however you say that comes over and he's like, Madame, and he's like, Miss Priscilla, who is 104 years old, cured these grapes.
These grapes have arthritis traces in them.
She actually muddles them with her fingers for days.
Hours upon hours.
And then pours them into this bucket.
Yeah.
This
So you're a
iron
wino.
bucket. Well, I like stories. I love stories.
Yeah,
So you're like honoring the fact
you're
that
not
it was
going to get
done.
a boil.
Yeah.
You're not going to get a bottle from
Nah.
Publix because it's on sale for $8.99.
Nah.
No Boone's Farm for you?
You're good. It's got to have a
I had
story
a friend
behind you.
throw up on Boone's Farm at a party once.
shit.
That was pretty funny. She drank 2 bottles and threw up, and I was like, yeah, that's
Horrible.
gross.
Shout out to Boone's Farm,
Yeah,
I guess.
They're, 7-Eleven, Boone's Farm wine. Yeah. I don't know. There's a romance. See, I don't have a problem with alcohol. I think this consumerist concept around it is just garbage. Like, oh, what brand do you drink? It's like, well, what's the difference between them? What, like some guy's grandfather started the company. They all put chemicals and garbage and they raise everything poorly, and some kind of machinery touches
Not
your
in the
drink.
mountains of the Appalachians.
It's gross. It's absolutely gross. Where I'm from, you go to the moonshine still.
Yeah.
And it's like basically doing meth as you cook the moonshine, right? And like
Ruth, Dale's here.
it's crazy.
Hey, Dale.
Dale's here for that apple pie moonshine again.
Apple pie.
I don't drink the moonshine. No, I have seen what it could do to
Let
you.
me go. Let me go crush some grapes for you, buddy.
But I just love I love the less consumerism concept. Like we were having a conversation earlier about like corporate America, basically. And to me, it's not about them being some kind of enemy of us and what we're all trying to build. It's this idea of people commercializing art. I'm freaking tired of it. Yeah. I'm so sick of it. So when you tell me you got this bottle, and even if it's like $400, but you're like, yeah, she made this late Priscilla, right? She made 400 of these, and then she went to another grape.
And then she just did something different.
Right, like she's on.
This is one of 400
grape now, right? And it's like it's not even the exclusivity of that as much as it's the story and the passion, the desire. Like I think about even like what does that look like? So to me, it looks like this. Like imagine you get these two people. They're sitting at like this wine tasting spot, right? And one of them pulled up in like, just like a beater car with their brand new wife and they're on their like little honeymoon trip and they got no money and they like came to this free wine tasting thing like that they're hanging out just like, on the countryside doing that. And they got this lady and her husband, they roll up in like a Rolls Royce and they park and they get in. These 4 people are sitting at the same spot, right? Yeah. And this little old lady, Priscilla, right? She's on the other side of the counter and she says, all right, well, here we're going to taste the wines, right? And imagine that she starts to pour them and the woman that is from the more upper echelons of society says, why would this wine be $100 a bottle, right? I've never heard of your wine. Like, what's the point of the like charging so much? And little Priscilla sweet little Priscilla tells the story, and she says, well, this is why my wine is more expensive. And she says, see that field out there? I walk that field up and down those grapevines. I pick those grapes myself. I curate this. I create this experience for you. I cultivate these tastes. I put my heart and my soul into what it is that you're drinking right now. Whereas the wine for $10 that you buy at the store or at your favorite fancy restaurant,
no feeling.
Those same fields, right? They're worked by robots who pick all of the grapes, and then they're processed by robots that crush and create and manipulate these grapes to be a drink. And then they're delivered by robots and machinery in these giant trucks in loads, at thousands of bottles a piece that show up in a store several weeks later that you then consume. And I find so much romance in the difference between consumerism and creation. And I love this idea of really getting back to the roots of like, why are we doing what we're doing? What is the purpose of owning a copier company, a technology organization, running a podcast, training people on sales? What's the purpose? Like, and where is the creation in this? Or is it just a consumer transactional model? That's how I see it.
I love it.
Yeah, it's great.
It's about putting the soul into it. I want to wrap this bad boy up. It's been freaking awesome talking to both of you. And Dale, I just want you to, you love vision. You're about vision. Give us an insight into what the next few years look like for the Sales Rebellion and what your ultimate desired outcome would be if you could have your cake and eat it too.
I love that question. As I spoke on earlier, I see this as a movement. I see us as an organization doing something very different and off the wall in comparison to what other organizations are doing. We've always done it that way, right? But I see ourselves going even like steps further into the ethers of the unknown and taking more risks. And ultimately, what I see happening for us is I see us totally revolutionizing and giving people the right kind of tools to create and to give themselves a little bit more hope instead of the destitute that they live in now and the scarcity mindsets that we talked about earlier, but to create abundance, to allow people to get back to understanding that time is the currency of sales and attention is the exchange of that currency. Instead of this idea that somehow everything is about the commission check, everything about is about the tactics and the technique and following the script, when no, it's really about, well, what's that jagged path over there to the left that you've not told me about yet? Don't worry about that. That's the place that I hope to help more people find, because it's a place of truth. It's a place of ultimately, as we see it, destiny, your calling. We want to develop at the Rebellion this concept of a covenant, making a promise to be something different within the world in order to change the game and revolutionize your life, not just your sales walk, but your life to live in ultimate freedom. We believe in freedom of time, freedom of finance, freedom of family. To me, though, the control that you think you have on that versus the reality of how it actually is still something that people lie to themselves about or lied to by the world. These last couple of years, I've been so blessed these last couple of years to just live my life and be able to be around my boys, to spend more quality time with my wife, and then to spend incredible time with people in prayer in the middle of a state, in the middle of a city that you'd never even thought existed, but because of something that they expressed to you and ultimately asked for your help and guidance in a moment that would have never been created if you didn't take a risk, if you didn't step outside of your comfort zone. Those are the things that I hope to help other people find: fulfillment, happiness, and ultimately this idea of being a rebel and living rebelliously, like it says on the hat. Rebellion is the way, right? I truly believe that it's the thing that's going to create the best outcomes for people in the future. And where we're headed is this ideation of that we're not here to burn it all down and hurt people and triumph. We're here to be this tiny voice, this little spark that eventually, for the individual who decides to join it, turns into a flame. And for that individual, that flame, as they take it into the world, burns it down. For that individual, no one else. We're not here for the masses. We're here for the people that ultimately want something more with their life. The masses won't choose that, but there's a calling. Hopefully people will hear it and they'll see the rebellion at the forefront of how it is that they can achieve those things.
Absolutely love it. It's about, you're all about changing lives, right?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Tim.
I've sat next to you for, I think, almost
2
3
hours.
hours. 2.5, 3 hours.
I'm so sorry.
No, it's
He
awesome.
has Sales Rebellion shoes.
Yeah. No, he's branded out, man.
This guy has, I just read a paragraph on the side of his shoe.
Dude, he's branded out.
This guy is unbelievable. What I'm going to do is I'm going to buy it. You're going to have to replicate those shoes. You're going to sign a shoe. We're going to put it in a glass case.
It's got to sit in.
Put it at the front. Put it at the front of the office.
Yeah.
And be like,
that hat.
That's our friend Dale.
Dale.
There's our friend Dale.
Right there, those shoes.
That's it, right there.
Dale greeted me with a hat.
Awesome, cool.
That hat's staying on this table.
Absolutely.
So that thing is going to be on here for every recording.
Hey, I appreciate you.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Hey, thank you very much for reaching out and
my pleasure.
Following up with us. And I've learned a lot, and we have a lot more to learn. So, thank you.
Love it. Tim, Dale, I want to remind you guys, you got shit done.
Awesome.
Cheers. Can your business handle 15% growth? If yes, you have to engage with 2020 Design. They fuse data and creativity to stop the scroll, break through the noise, and grab the attention of your future customers. 2020 Design will create competitive, click-worthy campaigns, design and build custom websites, spark your social media presence, and structure email campaigns that get right to your audience, the decision maker. Let's boost attention and awareness, which allows you to convert more sales. Check them out at 2020design.com. That's the number 20, TWENTY design.com.